Welcome to AudioNovel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. To access advanced chapters, visit their official page, link is in the description. For more captivating stories, visit my Patreon page. Chapter 26, Jonin Level Physical Strength. What, he's just wearing some weight. I thought that this kid also had some special skills. Darui's teammates breathed a sigh of relief. C also felt relieved and said, however, at this age, he is able to suppress the normal state Darui with just taijutsu. So, this Uchiha Yuta is really a genius. Rumble. Suddenly, the earth trembled like an earthquake had arrived. What's the matter? There's an earthquake. Darui's teammates stabilized their bodies and said blankly. No. C looked at the field below, and cold sweat dripped from his forehead. It's that guy's weights. How much weight did this guy wear? Kakashi, who was acting as the referee on the field below, couldn't help but twitch his mouth. How the hell did guy train him? This weight is too exaggerated. This guy. Darui, who had activated the lightning release chakra mode, cried out in astonishment. Only now did he understand why the previous collision felt wrong. It turns out it was because he had hit the other party's weight. On the opposite side, a figure rushed out from the smoke that was caused by the weight falling, and his speed was extremely fast. Boom. A powerful punch hit Darui. Darui raised his arms to block, but his body was still beaten back. What a powerful force. Feeling horrified in his heart, he looked up, and saw the other party's scarlet eyes again. Sharingan. Quickly remembering the information about this bloodline limit, and being wary of the opponent's Genjutsu, Darui immediately blocked his sight. Don't worry, I don't need Genjutsu to win this fight. Yuta grinned, and jumped into the air again. Boom. The ground burst. Darui jumped back hastily, his heart beating wildly. If he was hit just now, he probably would have lost his ability to fight again. But thinking of Yuta's words just now, Darui felt a burst of contempt in his heart. Saying that he doesn't need Genjutsu this time, does it mean that he can defeat me without using any Genjutsu? This kid is severely underestimating me. Darui's chakra surged wildly, and he quickly made some hand seals. Storm release, laser beam. Several streams of lightning blasted out towards Yuta. But Darui immediately saw a fire dragon on the other side, blocking the frontal thunder and lightning. Instant fire release ninjutsu. Darui became shocked again. Such a strong fire release ninjutsu was performed without a hand seal. It stands to reason that the stronger the ninjutsu, the more difficult it is to control the chakra flow, and the more it is necessary to form a hand seal. Without thinking about this, Darui looked at the thunderbolt that circled behind the opponent, and the corners of his mouth twitched. His storm release is a bloodline limit based on the combination of the lightning and water chakra nature transformations. It not only has the destructive power of lightning release, but it can also be easily controlled like water release. However, just when he thought that the lightning was going to hit Yuta, he saw that Yuta simply dodged it as if he had seen it long ago. Just by listening to the sound of the wind, I can tell the direction and distance of the attack. Yuta said with a chuckle. This was also a teaching from Guy. To deal with high-speed battles, Guy didn't have the insight of the Sharingan, so he created his own method of listening to the wind. The two sides performed several ninjutsu confrontations. Although Darui's storm release was powerful, he was blocked by Yuta's fire release again and again. Darui's heart gradually sank. Ninjutsu, there is no way to suppress the opponent. Genjutsu, he doesn't even need to think about it at all. Taijutsu. Can I only rely on taijutsu to find a way to win? Darui felt a little heavy. Before he had time to think about the strategy of using taijutsu to fight, Yuta on the opposite side had already attacked. Rumbling ground cracking sound. Dull body banging. Accompanied by the explosion of high-speed physical art breaking the air. In the air, Yuta's figure almost instantly disappeared. What a speed. Jonin is just like that, right? That Uchiha Yuta's taijutsu might not be inferior to me anymore. He's only 10 years old, has he already opened the 8 inner gates? The Jonins in the stands were taken aback. At this moment, the physical strength of Yuta had completely reached the level of a Jonin. So, many people were wondering if Yuta had used the forbidden technique 8 inner gates. No. In the stands, Hyuga Hayashi activated his Byakugan and observed carefully. His chakra shows no signs of skyrocketing. Whoa! The surrounding jonins buzzed. It is known that the chakra will skyrocket when the 8 inner gates are opened. And since that wasn't the case with Yuta now, that is to say, Yuta below is fighting in only his base state. He is only 10 years old. Kakashi was 12 years old when he became a jonin. Although the other party had only reached the level of a jonin in taijutsu, he was not much weaker than a real jonin. As expected of an Uchiha. I am looking forward to Yuta and Itachi's fight. I wonder how their fight will be now. The Uchiha ninjas who watched the battle were full of pride. This is a genius of their Uchiha clan. Moreover, in the chunin exam, there was another genius who had not taken action yet. This time, the surrounding ninja clan's leaders were full of envy in their hearts. With such a genius, the Uchiha clan will thrive for the next few decades. On the field below, the two figures were fighting at high speed, and lightning and flames collided from time to time. But obviously, Darui was already at a disadvantage. So much so that Darui couldn't help but feel dazed in his heart. How should he defeat such an opponent? The other party suppressed him in almost all aspects. Even Yuta's chakra was not lower than him. Even if he stalls and fights a battle of attrition, he will not be able to win. Sorry, Lord Raikage, I may not be able to live up to your expectations. Thinking bitterly in his heart, Darui looked at Yuta on the opposite side, who knocked him out with a punch. Continuous punches and kicks hit his body. Even if his whole body was covered with lightning chakra, he still felt severe pain. Boom. His body fell to the ground. Yuta finally did not attack again. Looking up at the sky, Darui's mind went blank. The winner, Uchiha Yuta. Kakashi declared the winner. A tsunami-like sound resounded in the stands. Chapter 27, Will of Fire and Caged Bird. Darui actually lost. Damn, I even bet on him being first place. That young man from the Uchiha clan is so powerful. He even defeated the genius of Kimogakure, who is 3 years older than him. As expected of the Uchiha clan, I wonder how strong the other Uchiha Itachi is. It seems that Konoha is still very powerful. Geniuses are born in large numbers in Konoha. As for Darui's two teammates, they were even more bitter at the moment. Darui was defeated in the first match. The third Hokage Sarutobi Huruzen, who was also in the stands, listened to the discussion from a distance and nodded in satisfaction. Sure enough, it was the right choice to arrange Darui and Yuta to compete first. Kimogakure only sent Darui alone to Konoha to take the chunin exam. He probably wanted to let Darui take the first place and increase Kimogakure's reputation while also decreasing Konoha's prestige. As a result, Darui was defeated in the first match of the third test. This time, Kimogakure will probably become a joke. And that's all thanks to him, the Hokage. With just a few tricks, Konoha's image was easily restored. Instead, what he didn't expect was Yuta's strength. Without opening the 8 inner gates, he defeated the genius ninja Darui, whom Kimogakure had high hopes for. This level of talent is completely comparable to the young Kakashi. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Huruzen secretly frowned. He wondered what this child thought of the Will of Fire now and whether he could be used by him. If Yuta becomes a chunin this time, he and Guy's team will be disbanded. It seems that I need to find a way to test him later. Sarutobi Huruzen made up his mind secretly. The test still went on. People showed up one after another. Itachi also fought with his opponent, and he easily defeated his opponent with just Genjutsu, which caused a burst of exclamations in the stands. And the various ninja clans leaders of Konoha became more and more envious of the Uchiha clan in their hearts. There are two great geniuses in the same clan. After a short while, it was time for Yuta's second match. The next match, Uchiha Yuta vs Hyuga Wuji. Kakashi announced. Yuta stepped off the stage and confronted Wuji. Looking at the face of the other party, he tried to recall this guy, but he couldn't remember Hai at all. He should be a character that didn't appear in the original book. Looking at the other party's forehead protector, he should be from the Hyuga branch house. The ninjas in the Hyuga branch house basically all have one thing in common. Regarding the ninja forehead protector, some ninjas tie it around their neck, some tie it around their waist, and some tie it around their arms. But the people of the Hyuga branch house, without exception, were the ninja forehead protector on their heads. Naturally, the purpose is to block the ugly caged bird. Wuji stared at Yuta opposite with a solemn expression. After watching Yuta's previous battle, he understood that he couldn't defeat Yuta. Even if he has already mastered Revolving Heaven during this time, he doesn't stand a chance against Yuta. Yuta doesn't even need to use the 8 inner gates to beat him. The two sides are not at the same level at all. Wuji felt another burst of sadness in his heart. He took the chunin exam this time because he was asked by the clan elders to do his best to get satisfactory results. As others can imagine, even if he fights with all his strength this time, the clan elders will not be satisfied after he loses. Maybe they will even get angry and punish him with the caged bird. This is the fate of a branch house member. Damn fate. Wuji reluctantly lifted his mood and looked towards the opposite side. Suddenly, for some reason, he felt that Yuta seemed to have seen through his mind. Shaking his head and throwing this ridiculous idea behind him, he heard Yuta on the other side speak again. You are obviously a ninja from the branch house. Are you taking the chunin exam this time to boost Hyuga's reputation? Yuta said with disdain in his expression. With this chunin exam, not only Konoha, but also the Hyuga clan want to boost their reputation. And the reason is naturally because of the Kumogakure incident a few months ago. But what does Hyuga's fame have to do with a group of branch house ninjas who don't even have freedom? Hyuga Hisashi, the younger brother of the clan leader, had just recently become a scapegoat. I had to do it. Wuji said with no expression on his face. Yeah, I see. Although Yuta had no contact with the Hyugas, he guessed the other party's difficulties. It was nothing more than being forced by the main family to take the chunin exam to boost their reputation. It was because of scenes like this that Yuta doesn't believe in the will of fire. Within Konoha, the Hyuga branch house members can be said to be the group with the lowest acceptance of the will of fire. A group of people who don't even have freedom and are trampled on by the main family. How can they believe in the will of fire? With the same idea, Yuta could understand their thoughts. I will fight seriously next, so you can have some excuse later. Wuji was in a trance for a while. Does he know why he took the chunin exam? He didn't know why, but he suddenly had the urge to cry. After a serious battle, Wuji even used the revolving heaven that he had learned not long ago to fully show his strength. However, in the face of Yuta's strength, he finally exhausted all his strength and collapsed. A medical ninja came over with a stretcher. Before being carried away on the stretcher, Wuji turned his head to look in the direction of Yuta with his last bit of strength, and he said with difficulty, "Thanks." Yuta looked up at the sky with 1,000 thoughts. Has the light of the will of fire ever shone into the caged hearts of the Hyuga branch house members? Cold chakra poured into his eyes. Yuta knew that his Sharingan had been upgraded to 3 Tomo. Chapter 28, Yuta is weaker than Itachi in Genjutsu. The competition quickly neared its end. The last match, Uchiha Yuta vs Uchiha Itachi. Kakashi announced loudly. The crowd on the stand suddenly became excited. I didn't expect the two Uchiha geniuses to fight in the end. The finalists turned out to be two 10-year-old genius ninjas. I heard that both of them passed the second test alone. The Uchiha clan is really amazing. No wonder they are the great ninja clan that have existed for thousands of years. In the previous battle, both Yuta and Itachi showed their respective strengths. One relied on his powerful taijutsu to defeat the opponent with absolute strength. The other relied on genjutsu to easily defeat his opponents. When such two people meet, they wondered what kind of sparks would light up. Even the ninjas of the Uchiha and various other clans also waited for the confrontation between the two with anticipation. When the two of them graduated early, I was thinking what the result would be if they competed with the same stage of Sharingan. Both Yuta and Itachi have awakened the 2 Tomo Sharingan. As far as Sharingan is concerned, there should be no difference. However, Yuta is good at taijutsu, and Itachi is good at genjutsu. I wonder what the battle between them will look like. The Uchiha's ninjas were eagerly awaiting the confrontation between their two geniuses. But on the field, Itachi was less confident than them. Instead, he looked at Yuta opposite with a solemn expression. He understood that when it came to taijutsu, he was not a match for Yuta at all. As for ninjutsu, Yuta does not even need to make a hand seal to use ninjutsu, so he has a huge advantage. In terms of Shuriken Jutsu, both of them have the two Tomo Sharingan, and it cannot decide the winner. So if he wants to win, he can only rely on Genjutsu that he is best at. Fortunately, with the guidance of Shisui, a Genjutsu prodigy, his Genjutsu was far beyond the level of ordinary people. The match was about to start soon. However, Yuta on the other side had very little interest at this time. On the one hand, it was because of Hyuga Wuji's matter before. On the other hand, it was because his comprehensive strength had finally risen to the level of a Jonin. After the awakening of the three Tomo Sharingan and the accompanying surge of chakra, his comprehensive strength skipped Jonin, weak, and rose to Jonin, middle. This was not only because of the three Tomo Sharingan but also because of his accumulation of strength for 2 years. With his current strength of a Jonin, it really didn't make sense to fight Itachi again. He might as well go home and see what talents would be analyzed later. But on the other hand, Itachi intended to take this fight seriously. Since his defeat at ninja school, he had been constantly training to defeat Yuta. When he first awakened the Sharingan, he wanted spar with Yuta, but Yuta had already awakened the two Tomo Sharingan. When he awakened the two Tomo Sharingan, he temporarily resisted the urge to go to Yuta for a match. Now, the chance to compete had finally come. "Yuta, I can finally compete with you," Itachi said very seriously, and activated his two Tomo Sharingan. Oh. Yuta's interest was raised by a little. This guy wants to beat him. However, today he is going to be disappointed. Yuta rushed forward at high speed and punched Itachi in the abdomen. The figure of Itachi suddenly disappeared, turning into a group of crows croaking. Is it really a Genjutsu? Yuta was not surprised. With Itachi's battle IQ, he naturally wouldn't use his own weaknesses to fight against his strengths. Accompanied by the flying crows, a big tree suddenly appeared behind Yuta, and the complicated branches entangled his body. The figure of Itachi poked out of the tree. In the battle of ninjas, you should give full play to your own advantages. Okay. Yuta said calmly, I am indeed not very good at Genjutsu. Although I know some basic Genjutsus, I am still not very good when it comes to Genjutsu. However, my Sharingan has already been upgraded to 3 Tomo. Saying that, the corner of Yuta's mouth raised a mocking arc, and he instantly rebounded the Genjutsu. Rotation of heaven and earth. This is the Genjutsu that Tekka had taught him before. Use Sharingan to bounce back the Genjutsu the opponent applied to you. This. Itachi felt the scene in front of him change, and he replaced Yuta and was tied up to a tree. He disturbed his chakra flow to try to dispel the Genjutsu, but he failed. He stared blankly at the 3 Tomos in Yuta's eyes. You have reached a higher level again. Why are you always one step ahead of me? Although his Genjutsu mastery was higher than Yuta's, the pupil power of Yuta's 3 Tomo Sharingan was far higher than his. If he had known that the other party had the 3 Tomo Sharingan, he might not have been restrained by the Genjutsu rebound. But now, it was too late to say anything. The competition is over, the winner is Uchiha Yuta. Kakashi learned about this Genjutsu contest through his Sharingan, and announced the final result with a look of emotion. When he was 10 years old, he had upgraded his Sharingan to the level of 3 Tomo. In the stands, the audience was confused. What happened? Why did it end suddenly? They only saw that Yuta put a kunai on Itachi's neck, and the latter didn't even resist, and the referee announced the result. What is this fake match? If only one person uses Genjutsu and the other party stays still for a few seconds, then they could somewhat understand what was going on. Like Itachi's previous match. But if both of them use Genjutsu, the competition becomes completely unwatchable. Without any special skills, they didn't know what had happened. In the follow-up, Kakashi explained what had happened, and the audience finally figured out what had happened in this battle. Some people scolded and felt that it was not as good as the previous match between Yuta and Darui. And with the end of the chunin exam, the results of several battles during this period came out. Yuta's fame completely skyrocketed. He was even remembered by the 4th Raikage. He heard that the 4th Raikage smashed his table in anger. Itachi, Darui, Wuji, and others also became famous due to their own performances. Sarutobi Huruzen thought Kimogakure would become a joke, but it turned out this was just his wishful thinking. Anyone who was not stupid knew that Darui was already very strong, but he just had the bad luck of meeting the stronger Yuta. Yuta's house. Ignoring the chaos outside, Yuta checked his system. Congratulations. Host's comprehensive strength has improved to Jonin, middle. The overall strength of the host has been improved by a stage, and the system is analyzing new talents. Analyzing Hitaki Kakashi's talent. Analysis completed, increasing. Amplification is complete. Congratulations to host for obtaining the Lightning Release Prodigy talent. Chapter 29, Sarutobi Huruzen's Plan. Yuta first checked the system panel. Comprehensive strength, Jonin, middle. Sharingan pupil power, LV3, 500/5000. Chakra, LV3, 1000/2000. Chakra attributes, fire, lightning. Talents, Indra Bloodline, Monster Physique, Lightning Release Prodigy. Lightning Release Prodigy, your lightning release talent is unparalleled in the world. You can easily master, improve, and create various lightning release ninjutsus. My chakra has increased so much. Seeing the chakra column, Yuta couldn't help but be stunned. When his Sharingan had just been upgraded to 3 Tomo, he had noticed that his chakra was skyrocketing. But he didn't expect it to have more than doubled. He still remembered that before the chunin exam, the chakra points were 450, but now it had reached 1000. The improvement brought by the 3 Tomo Sharingan is actually so great. But looking at Sharingan's pupil power column, Yuta's mouth twitched. 500/5000. This is a bit outrageous, right? A full 10-fold increase. The LV3 of Sharingan pupil power is a 3 Tomo Sharingan, and LV4 should correspond to the Mangekyo Sharingan. That is to say, the pupil power of a newly awakened pair of Mangekyo Sharingan is 10 times greater than that of a newbie 3 Tomo Sharingan. He thought that the gap between a 3 Tomo and a 2 Tomo Sharingan was already very big. But he didn't expect the gap between a Mangekyo and 3 Tomi Sharingan to be so ridiculous. The points required for the upgrade of LV3 Sharingan pupil power and chakra are actually different. Noticing this, Yuta was a little surprised. The upper limit of LV3 Sharingan pupil power is 5000, while the upper limit of LV3 chakra is only 2000. It was unclear why this was the case for the time being. Yuta put these matters aside and began to understand the abilities of 3 Tomo Sharingan. Except for the increase in insight and the power of Genjutsu, the 3 Tomo Sharingan has another very important ability. It can allow the user see the flow of chakra in the human body. Although it is impossible to see every acupuncture point and every meridian clearly like the Byakugan. But Sharingan can be used to see the chakra flow when the target uses ninjutsu, and copy it. Coupled with the Sharingan's ability to copy hand seals, a 3 Tomo Sharingan has the ability to copy ninjutsus. In general, his strength had increased by a lot. In addition, he had already reached Jonin level in terms of taijutsu. So, his strength directly skipped the stage of Jonin, weak. He was not far from an elite Jonin. My strength has reached the level of a Jonin, I finally have the power to protect myself. Yuta let out a long breath, full of emotion. What does the strength of a Jonin mean? Even in the face of Uchiha Madara, he can last a moment before his neck is twisted. Moreover, he has also mastered the life-saving 8 inner gates. His sense of security greatly increased. In this dangerous ninja world, if he wants to protect himself, he can only rely on strength, not some ethereal will of fire. The will of fire. It was under this name that Hyuga Hisashi was pushed to his death. After sorting out his current strength, Yuta set his sights on his newly acquired talent. The object of analysis is Kakashi, but is there only this lightning release genius talent? After thinking about it, Yuta probably figured it out. Although Kakashi had mastered 5 chakra nature transformations, he was best at lightning release. At the age of 12, he created an A-level lightning release ninjutsu by himself. Kakashi's talent in lightning release can be seen. Compared with lightning release, Kakashi's talent is a little worse than other attributes. Therefore, the system only took a fancy to Kakashi's lightning release talent. The lightning release prodigy talent isn't bad either, though. Among the 5 attributes of water, fire, wind, earth and lightning, when it comes to lethality, fire release and lightning release are the best. I have just acquired the chakra attribute of lightning release. Now, I will have another method to fight enemies in the future. Yuta was content. Previously his chakra attribute was only fire. If you want to learn ninjutsu with other attributes, you need to spend some time to master the corresponding nature transformation. It's good now. After the chakra attribute has the thunder attribute, he can directly learn lightning-style ninjutsu. There was no hesitation immediately. He went to Fugaku and applied for a bunch of lightning release ninjutsus. By the way, he also applied for the remaining fire release ninjutsus that could only be applied after becoming a chunin. As long as an Uchiha becomes a chunin, they can get all the normal ninjutsus. But after checking the lightning release ninjutsus recorded in the Uchiha clan, Yuta was a little disappointed. He still didn't find a lightning release ninjutsu that he really liked. The only thing that was barely good in his eyes was a ninjutsu called lightning release, false darkness. Yuta had some impression of this ninjutsu. It is the lightning release ninjutsu that Kakuzu was good at in the original book. It was so powerful that it took Kakashi Raikiri to block it. After easily learning the fire release and lightning release ninjutsus, Yuta was still a little dissatisfied. Looks like I still have to learn Kakashi's Chidori. Chidori is a ninjutsu with great potential for development. After Kakashi taught it to Sasuke in the future, he was easily surpasses by the latter. My relationship with Kakashi is not bad. I wonder if he will mind letting me. Hokage building. Hiruzen, what are your plans for Uchiha Yuta? When Danzo learned the result of the chunin exam, he couldn't sit still and went straight to Sarutobi Huruzen. At the age of 10, Yuta passed the chunin exam by himself, with jonin-level taijutsu. Without even using the forbidden technique 8 inner gates, he overwhelmed all the geniuses and won the first place in the chunin exam. This kind of genius even belongs to the Uchiha clan. If it was a commoner or a ninja of a small ninja clan, he would have sent someone directly to invite them over. Or he would simply ask Sarutobi Huruzen for them. I plan to ask Shisui to get in touch with Yuta to test Yuta's understanding of the will of fire. Sarutobi Huruzen said while handing out a piece of information. It just happens that Kirigakure had a change, so Yuta can come over, and Shisui can take the opportunity to contact and observe him on the battlefield. Danzo frowned. Uchiha Shisui. The strongest genius of the Uchiha clan who had grown up. Although he serves in the police force, he is often ordered by Sarutobi Huruzen to do other things. Shisui was loyal to Sarutobi Huruzen. Thinking of this, Danzo couldn't help but envy the Hokage's position. With the shining image of the Hokage, Sarutobi Huruzen could attract some Uchiha ninjas to serve him. But he himself is hated by the Uchiha clan. After the contact, what are you going to do? Danzo asked Sarutobi Huruzen directly. If he fully understands the will of fire and has the village in his heart, he can be allowed to join the Umbu later. Sarutobi Huruzen said. The Uchiha clan had recently become more and more prejudiced against the village. He must get the geniuses of the new generation of Uchiha in his control as soon as possible. Suddenly realizing something, Sarutobi Huruzen frowned and looked at his old friend. Danzo, don't do anything superfluous. Chapter 30, Danzo's Calculation. Danzo left the Hokage building with a gloomy expression on his face. He returned directly to the root base, and called over his confidant, Abirame Toryun. Uchiha Shisui is already Hiruzen's subordinate. He wants Uchiha Yuta too, and, looking at what Hiruzen said, he doesn't want to let go of Uchiha Itachi as well. Back on his turf, Danzo began to vent his anger unbridled. Why? Just because Hiruzen is the Hokage, he can easily recruit Uchiha's geniuses for his own use. And he can only assume a role of a villain in the Uchiha's eyes. Hiruzen even warned him not to do unnecessary things. If you aren't going to let me get it, I won't let you get anything as well. Ruthlessness flashed in Danzo's eyes, and he ordered, Toryun, find a way to kill Uchiha Yuta. Abirame Toryun was a little surprised and said, you don't plan to contact him at the right time to see if we can win over us. Ah. Danzo sneered, after he is successfully invited, there are only two results, either the side of the village or the side of the Uchiha. Leaving the latter aside for the time being, if Uchiha Yuta joins the village, he will be used by Hiruzen at that time. What good will it be for us? At that time, Hiruzen's force will become stronger, and I will be further away from the position of Hokage. Abirame Toryun suddenly realized. In the end, this time Danzo wanted to kill Uchiha Yuta mainly because he wanted to retaliate against the third Hokage, and the Uchiha's problem was secondary. If Yuta leaned towards the third Hokage, he would become the second Shisui. What's in it for their root organization? Understood. After thinking about it, Aburaim Toriyun nodded. Danzo's expression softened, and he said to his confidant, "It's not all about competing with Hiruzen. With Yuta's talent, after a few more years, I'm afraid he will really become another Shisui. The Uchiha clan is strong enough, and they can't be allowed to grow any stronger. Dealing with Yuta is also for the good of the village." At the edge of Konoha, next to a waterfall, two figures flashed to and fro on the edge of the cliff, fighting fiercely. After a moment, one of the figures retreated first, panting violently, but there was still a look of unwillingness in his eyes, and he wanted to continue rushing up. "Take a rest, Itachi. Don't be too hasty about training," Shisui kindly advised. He had said this kind of persuasive words many times recently, but Itachi was indifferent. Although Itachi was reluctant, he also knew that his body had reached its limit. As soon as he relaxed, his body fell down suddenly. He slumped on the ground and touched his eye socket with his hand, only to feel that his eyes were sore and unbearable. He knew that this was a symptom of excessive pupil power consumption. But at this time, that person came to his mind again. One picture after another emerged in his mind. The loss in the ninja school's actual combat assessment. At the graduation assessment, he learned that Yuta had already awakened his Sharingan. After awakening his Sharingan, he wanted to find the other party for a rematch, but he was told that Yuta had already awakened the two-tomo Sharingan. And the chunin exam not long ago. He was obviously best at Genjutsu, but Yuta used the three-tomo Sharingan to directly bounce back his Genjutsu to him. "Itachi, strength is for protection, not for fighting with people. Also, Yuta is not only a partner from the same village, but also from the same clan as you and me." Seeing Itachi's appearance, Shisui looked a little helpless and persuaded. How could he not know why Itachi was so crazy and wanted to become stronger? A person who had been a genius since childhood would obviously not easily accept that he was inferior to a peer of the same age. "Speaking of Yuta, I don't have much contact with him. I wonder what kind of person he is. What do you think he is like?" Shisui asked. "Very strong, and he is also very serious about training." Itachi replied subconsciously. "I didn't say that." Shisui looked like he didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and immediately told Itachi about the mission that Lord Hokage had told him about. It was not a secret mission, and Itachi was not a soft-spoken person, so saying it to him wasn't a big deal. "Do you agree with the will of fire?" Itachi thought back, remembered one thing, and said, "Yuta is very dissatisfied with Lord Hokage's decision about what happened with Kimogakure and Hyuga before, and he seems to think that Lord Hokage's decision is not in line with the will of fire. In his view, what the third Hokage did was undoubtedly the right decision. He successfully stopped the war and prevented a lot of senseless deaths. But Shisui's views on this matter were not exactly the same as his. The Hyuga matter. This thing, alas, is really not a good evaluation." Shisui scratched his head in annoyance. In his view, it cannot be said that it is correct to sacrifice his own people who are not at fault in exchange for peace. But if a war broke out directly, he really wouldn't what decision to make if he were the Hokage. And the third Hokage is also very distressed when he makes a decision like this, right? The two had exchanged views on this matter, and Itachi knew Shisui's views on this matter. Without asking more, he asked curiously, "Why does Lord Hokage want you to contact Yuta, Shisui?" "Lord Hokage wants me to examine Yuta's understanding of the will of fire, and then see if he is suitable to join the Umbu." While speaking, Shisui said with a smile on his face, "I also recommended you to Lord Hokage, and Lord Hokage agreed that you should also join the Umbu." Itachi's expression stiffened. He was not at all happy about this good news. He was thinking in his heart, why was Yuta actively invited to the Umbu by Lord Hokage, but he had to go through Shisui's recommendation. Isn't this another loss to Yuta? Comment. For comment. Vote. Chapter 31, Improving Chidori. Yuta successfully copied Chidori from Kakashi. Because he was Guy's students, the two have had a lot of contact and have a good relationship. Yuta had also already awakened the three-tomo Sharingan, and Kakashi had no need to hide Chidori from him. Not to mention, ninjutsu is not something that can be mastered by just copying with the Sharingan. It requires a lot of practice and it tests a person's mastery of the corresponding chakra nature transformation. Chidori is an A-rank ninjutsu, and lightning release ninjutsu is generally more difficult to learn. So, Chidori is not that easy to master. In the courtyard of Yuta's house. Sure enough, it is easy. Yuta looked at his palm filled with blue arcs, not surprised. The high-density lightning chakra gathered in the palm of his hand. Electric lights flickered, and a sound that was like 1,000 birds chirping broke out. After getting the God-level lightning release talent, and copying the required chakra flow with the Sharingan, this A-rank ninjutsu was easily used for the first time by Yuta. It feels like the power is not enough and it's too noisy. Yuta scattered the chakra from the palm of his hand, frowned and thought. What is the difference between the current Chidori and the Raikiri that will be used by Kakashi in the future? Are these two the same ninjutsu? The current Chidori has a lot of room for improvement. With the newly acquired lightning release talent, Yuta could feel that this ninjutsu had the potential to become stronger. He recalled the difference between Chidori and Raikiri in his past life memories. The first is the rank, the former is a rank, and the latter is S rank. Second, for the use of Chidori, it needs to be accompanied by a high-speed dash, but Raikiri does not have this problem. Another difference is the sound. Raikiri is much quieter and can be used for sneak attacks. In the original story, Kakashi once used Raikiri to sneak attack and he crushed Kakuzu's earth attribute heart with one blow. If Raikiri like Chidori needed a sprint, then how could it be used for a sneak attack? According to his own understanding of lightning release, a series of ideas appeared in Yuta's mind. Yuta controlled the flow of lightning chakra in his body, making some minor adjustments based on the original version of Chidori. Ah, it hurts. The lightning chakra went berserk, numbing Yuta's meridians for a while. Shaking his right arm that had been electrocuted, Yuta's expression became a little helpless. Sure enough, creating, improving and learning ninjutsu is not difficult at all. Creating a ninjutsu requires one to constantly feel and alter the flow of chakra in the body. If you don't control this process well, you can hurt yourself. Yuta sighed in his heart, but fortunately he succeeded. With the chakra control ability thanks to the Indra bloodline talent, and the understanding of lightning release ninjutsu due to the lightning release prodigy talent, it wouldn't take him too long to improve Chidori. At this time, suddenly there was a knock on the door. When Yuta went out to check, he saw a young man with short black hair, a round nose and a gentle face. Senior Shisui. Yuta quickly recognized the person who had come. Although he and Shisui haven't had any dealings, the two still knew each other. Don't be so polite, just call me Shisui. Shisui said in a kind voice. The clan leader has summoned the clansmen to the Naka shrine. There is some situation on Kirigakure's side. You are also on the expedition list. Kirigakure? A lot of thoughts broke out in Yuta's mind. He didn't know if the fourth Mizukage was in Obito's control as of now. Is this change in Kirigakure related to Obito? While thinking, he followed Shisui towards Naka Shrine. In Naka Shrine. Yo, the strongest geniuses of two different generations of our Uchiha clan have arrived together. Seeing Shisui and Yuta coming together, Tekka smiled. He even showed off to Shisui. How is it, Shisui? Although I can't match you, the Yuta I brought is stronger than the Itachi you brought. A short-haired Uchiha ninja next to him sneered and said, you aren't even ashamed. Does Yuta's strength have anything to do with you? Isn't Yuta's taijutsu all taught by Might Guy? Yuta looked up and recognized this man. It was Uchiha Inabi. He has an excellent relationship with Tekka, and was also an officer of the police force. Hearing Inabi's words, Tekka blushed, and said, I also gave Yuta a lot of advice. I also have some credit. Just when they were chatting, Fugaku arrived. Fugaku announced the attack by Kirigakure's ninjas and announced the expedition list. We're going to fight Kirigakure again. Are the senior leaders of the village sick? Complained. Obviously, the Uchiha clan is best at fire release, and they are a bad matchup against Kirigakure's ninjas, which are good at water release. Other Uchiha ninjas on the expedition list also complained. All right, everyone. Shisui stood in front of the crowd and comforted. Our Sharingan and fire release are just right to deal with Kirigakure's ninjas' water release ninjutsu. Furthermore, Lord Hokage's Sarutobi clan will also be there. Isn't there a lot of people on the expedition list this time? What's more, the commander-in-chief this time is the eldest son of Lord Hokage. Seeing Shisui speak, the ninjas of the Uchiha clan reluctantly stopped complaining. However, some people still complained that the people participating in the frontal combat basically did not include a single Sarutobi clansman, and the Uchiha clansmen were the ones who were in charge of desperate efforts. Yuta watched silently from the side without speaking. It could be seen that Shisui had a high prestige in the clan. As the strongest genius of his generation, and with a lenient personality, it was normal for Shisui to have this prestige. The day of expedition soon came. After being told by Izumi's family to be careful, Yuta made adequate preparations and received his first mission on the Quasi-Kage battlefield. "You are Uchiha Yuta, right?" The captain of this temporary team, the special jonin of the Sarutobi clan, Sarutobi Huruzen said. Sarutobi Huruzen was about 20 years old. He glanced up and down at Yuta, with a hint of jealousy in his eyes. "This should be your first time on the battlefield. After you arrive on the battlefield, the enemy's traps will not care whether you are a genius or not. You may really die. Let's go now. The goal is to retake the supply route occupied by Kirigakuru's ninjas." Chapter 32, First Time on Battlefield. In the Land of Fire. In a stronghold originally garrisoned by Konoha ninjas. At this moment, the Konoha ninjas who were stationed here before had been slaughtered. "My lord, we can't rush forward anymore. Now it's very far from the border." A Kirigakure chunin persuaded bitterly. In front of him, there was a ninja with deeply sunken eye sockets and 2 black dots on the center of his eyebrows. With the satisfaction of the battle and killing on his face, this jonin from the Kagaya clan shook off the blood on the bone blade in his hand. Then he said impatiently, "You have already said this twice before, right?" Kirigakure chunin's face was stagnant, and he inwardly cursed that the jonin still knew how many times he had said it. But this place was really a long way from the border. In case they are surrounded by Konoha ninjas, they will be finished. After reluctantly persuading the jonin with a few more words, he could only give up after getting an increasingly impatient response from the other party. In the end, he had no choice but to set up more traps with his companions to prevent possible attacks. Not far from this stronghold. The stronghold in front is the target, and it is now occupied by the enemy. Although you are pretty strong, the battle in the missions are different from the life and death battles in the battlefield. Sarutobi Huruzen said in a bad tone. Yuta frowned slightly and didn't speak. In his heart, he wondered if this person was sick. This guy had been targeting him as if he had stolen something from him. Could he speak in a normal tone? On Sarutobi Huruzen's side, looking at Yuta, he couldn't help but feel jealous. Yuta passed the chunin exam alone at the age of 10, and he even had such great strength. His talent in the Sarutobi clan is also good, and he is considered a little genius. But now he was 20 years old, and he had just become a special jonin. Look at the others. Kakashi became a real jonin at the age of 12 or so. How could it not make him jealous? The dark emotions in his heart gradually grew, and he hoped that the other party would die on the battlefield. Before, he wanted to see Yuta make a fool of himself by falling for the traps because he was on the battlefield for the first time, but he was disappointed. Yuta was very experienced in sensing the traps and he easily avoided them. After gathering his complicated thoughts, Sarutobi Huruzen looked at the stronghold in front of him. He turned his head and said to Yuta, "You go and lead the enemy out of the front base. We will wait in ambush and kill them." Yuta looked at his other 2 chunin temporary teammates. Both of them were also from the Sarutobi clan, and neither of them expressed any objections at the moment. Seeing this, Yuta felt that he had probably figured out why the Uchiha clan had such a big hatred for the Sarutobi clan. The risks are borne by them, and others take the benefits. And this kind of thing is even said in such a grand manner. It doesn't take that much trouble. Yuta shook his head. Facing the stronghold in front, his chest swelled wildly, and he used a ninjutsu he had just recently learned. Fire release, great fire annihilation. Boom. The overwhelming flames covered the entire stronghold. The wall of the stronghold was directly smashed by the flames, and the traps hidden along the way were all burned in the flames. The Kirigakure ninjas in the strongholds were buried in the sea of fire and they didn't even have the time to let out a scream. This. Sarutobi Huruzen's eyes were about to pop out of his eye sockets. A fire release with such a wide range. What did he hear just now? Great fire annihilation. Sarutobi clan is also good at fire release, and he also knows about the top fire release ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan. No matter how you look at it, a ninjutsu of this level should be performed only by the real elites of the Uchiha clan, right? How could this kid in front of him use it so easily? He didn't even need a hand seal. Sarutobi Kaze had heard that this little kid called Uchiha Yuta did not need a hand seal to use ninjutsu. But he never imagined that even a ninjutsu of this level could be used without a hand seal. Don't be stunned, the remaining enemies are coming out. Yuta looked at the temporary captain and temporary teammates with dull expressions and frowned. Only this level. And they still dare to mock him for standing on the battlefield for the first time. Sarutobi Kaze came back to his senses, and his face became full of shame and anger. He glared angrily at this temporary subordinate, Yuta. In the sea of fire that gradually disappeared, a vigorous figure, surrounded by pale bones, rushed out. Finally, some powerful characters have arrived. I can finally have a great battle. The Jonin of the Kage clan rushed out with a frenzy on his face. He glanced at Yuta and the others, and then he stared at Sarutobi Kaze, who looked like the leader of the team. Were you the one who used the fire release just now? As he spoke, his body bounced like a cannonball, hitting Sarutobi Kaze. Puff. Sarutobi Kaze hurriedly used the short sword on his back to parry. But the other party used the bones in front of him to break it, knocking him upside down and flying out. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body flew out, breaking a tree behind him before stopping. Jonin. A real Jonin. And it's Jonin of the Kage clan who are good at taijutsu and have the bloodline limit of dead bone pulse. Sarutobi Kaze realized this, but it was too late. In the dilapidated stronghold on the opposite side, a few Kirigakure ninjas barely escaped burns on their bodies. The other two teammates felt alarm bells ringing in their hearts at this moment, and the idea of retreat immediately appeared in their hearts. The enemy was a Jonin of the Kage clan, and their captain, a special Jonin, was crushed in a face-to-face. And there were several other Kirigakure ninjas who were capable of fighting. They were no match for them. It looks like it was not you. The Kage clan Jonin twisted his neck and glanced at the remaining few. Your opponent is me. Yuta rushed up and fiercely punched the Kage Jonin. The Kage Jonin burst out laughing, and also punched him. Boom. The two fists collided head-on, creating a storm that swept the surrounding smoke and dust. The Kage Jonin's eyes froze for a moment, and he looked down at his body, which was being beaten, and he slowly retreated. In terms of strength, he was actually suppressed by the enemy. Chapter 33, End of a Farce. Boom. 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 The dull physical collision sound broke out from time to time, and the two figures almost disappeared. The Jonin of Kage clan became more and more frightened at this moment. Whether it was strength or speed, he was inferior to the other party. But how is this possible? Looking at the obviously young body of the other party, it was obvious that the other party was in his early tens at most. How could a 10-year-old kid have the upper hand when fighting him, a Jonin with taijutsu? He is from the Kage clan who are good at taijutsu. Gurg. The Kage Jonin hurriedly retreated after being punched in the abdomen, and he spat out a mouthful of blood under the severe pain. After dealing with an attacking Kirigakure chunin, Yuta rubbed his fist. What, go on, didn't we have a good time just now? The Kage Jonin looked gloomy and cursed in his heart. From which angle does it look like he's having a good time? He's been beaten all the time, okay. What an incredible genius. The Kage Jonin wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, revealing a bloodthirsty smile. Remember, it was a man from the Kage clan with dead bone pulse who killed you. At the same time as he was speaking, his arm raised towards Yuta, and several phalanges like bullets hit Yuta. Clang. 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 Yuta shot down the phalanx missiles one by one without panic, and the sharp collision sound continuously sounded. The bones are really hard. Looking at the kunai which was ripped apart by the phalanx missiles, Yuta threw it and pulled out the short sword on his back. I'm a ninja of the Kage clan. The Kage Jonin shouted loudly, holding a bone blade in his hand, and he slashed at Yuta head-on. The slender and sharp bone blade cut through the air. With a sharp swish, it was about to collide with Yuta's short sword. The Kage Jonin had a mocking look in his eyes. Ninja. He felt that he had seen him before, and he quickly confirmed the identity of the other party. Kurosuke Raiga. Yuta stared at the other party with a solemn expression. Oh, you actually recognized me. How about it, now that you know who I am, are you still going to resist? The corners of Raiga's mouth twitched, and even if the previous sneak attack attempt failed, he did not panic. Although the other party also had the experience of killing many jonin, his enemies were just ordinary jonins. And he was one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, and even among elite jonin, he was an absolute elite. Not to mention. It's actually raining, your luck is really bad. Raiga looked up at the dark clouds in the sky, looking a little excited. This kind of weather was a good opportunity for his ninja sword to exert its full strength. On the other hand, fire release, which the other party is good at, is much less powerful in rainy days. Yuta activated his Sharingan, and adjusted to his best state. The expression on his face remained unchanged, and he quickly analyzed in his heart. You killed the people in the nearby stronghold in advance, leaving me in a situation of isolation and helplessness, and then came to kill me. In other words, you are here for me, and you knew that I would be at this stronghold at this time. Clap. Clap. Raiga applauded, with a mocking smile on his face. Yes, you guessed right. He, the assassin, can get such detailed information. What does it mean? There is a traitor on Konoha's side, and the information about him was revealed by them. He figured this out when the 4th Mizukage had given him the mission scroll. Yuta wiped the rain on his face, and the scarlet color of the 3 Tomo Sharingan in his pupils became deeper and deeper. The anger in his heart couldn't be suppressed. Since the time he had arrived in the Naruto world, he had never had a death feud with anyone. And this was the first time he had even been on the battlefield. But he was actually betrayed by his own fellow villagers. They sent his information to the enemy and wanted the enemy to kill him. Chapter 36, Raikiri's Power. Who? Yuta let out a long sigh. He didn't think about other things, but concentrated on the battle in front of him. Looking at Raiga in front of him, he grinned. Since you know my detailed information, do you also know about my master's 8 inner gates? I don't know if your information has written it clearly in detail. The teacher who led my team during my genin period happens to be the son of the person who caused the tragedy of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Blue veins jumped wildly in Raiga's forehead. With a cold snort, Raiga thought he understood Yuta's intentions and said, "You want to scare me away by saying this. That green skin monster is indeed amazing, but at your age, what level have you reached in the 8 inner gates?" Yuta shook his head and said, "I said this just to tell you that you are Gai-sensei's father's killer. And since I met you today, of course I can't let you go." Hearing this, Raiga almost laughed angrily. He doesn't want to find a way to escape, or find a way to stall for support, but wants to kill him instead. He really wanted to know where this brat got his confidence from. Just as he was about to say something ironic and go back, he saw several spear-shaped lightning rushing straight towards him. The awe-inspiring power made Raiga startled. He quickly waved the 2 swords in his hand, and slammed into the ground. Lightning release, lightning fang. In an instant, lightning flashed above the 2 swords, and a large number of lightning bolts in the shape of branches shot out, blocking the lightning release in front. Raiga jumped high quickly, and at the same time used lightning release to resist Yuta's ninjutsu. Not far away. What a strong lightning release. White Zetsu stuck out half of his body from the ground, and secretly peeked at the battle. If I remember correctly, what Uchiha Yuta used just now should be the lightning release, false darkness that Kakuzu is best at. Obito said in a low voice. This is a long-range offensive lightning release ninjutsu, which is extremely fast and penetrative. Raiga used 2 lightning release ninjutsus in a row, and was able to intercept Yuta's lightning release, false darkness. In the information that White Zetsu inquired before, Uchiha Yuta seems to have learned Hatake Kakashi's Chidori. As Black Zetsu spoke, he looked at Uchiha Obito. The latter did not move, and under the mask, his expression was unknown. What do you think the outcome of this battle will be? Who will win? White Zetsu asked curiously. It's hard to say, it depends on Uchiha Yuta's level in the 8 inner gates. He could briefly open the 3rd gate more than 2 years ago. If he can open the 4th gate now, it should be able to delay enough time until Konoha's support arrives. Obito said casually. So Raiga is going to fail this time. White Zetsu was slightly surprised. Since Raiga was not strong enough, why didn't Obito control the 4th Mizukage before and choose other stronger people? Idiot. Obito said, our purpose is not to kill Uchiha Yuta, but to show him the dark side of Konoha, and make him join us to increase the probability of Project Infinite Tsukuyomi succeeding. Seeing White Zetsu's sudden realization, Obito became out of breath again. Why did he have to explain to White Zetsu, this brainless thing? Lightning release, falling thunder. The 2 swords in the hands of Raiga raised and swung down suddenly. Accompanying it, 2 lightning bolts fell straight down from the dark clouds in the sky, slashing in the direction of Yuta. Yuta predicted Raiga's movements through his Sharingan, and jumped away to dodge. The light of the lightning strike fell on Yuta's face, showing Yuta's solemn expression. Raiga should be the strongest opponent he has ever encountered, perhaps even stronger than the strength shown by the seriously injured Orochimaru. Of course, the latter didn't use all his means when he fought him. 2 more lightning bolts fell, and Yuta dodged again. How long can you hide? How much energy do you have left? In this kind of stormy weather, with the help of lightning fangs, I can directly mobilize the lightning in nature without spending much chakra. And your lightning release ninjutsu consumes a lot of chakra. Of course, you can open the 8 inner gates, and try to see if you can rush towards me. Raiga said calmly. Although he had a lot of contempt, he also secretly guarded against Yuta's 8 inner gates. So, just in case, he made up his mind to use ninjutsu to kill the other party remotely. Even if this kid is a genius, and his chakra reserve is higher than ordinary people, it is impossible to be comparable to him, an elite jonin. Yuta frowned, thinking quickly in his heart. He was being held back by his age. If he had enough chakra, he could directly fight against the opponent's ninjutsu with his own ninjutsu, and fight a battle of attrition. With his mind made up, Yuta frantically gathered lightning chakra in his hands. I don't need the 8 inner gates yet. This was a good chance to try out the Raikiri he had just created. With the sound of electric current, lightning chakra condensed. Yuta held Raikiri and rushed towards Raiga. Hatake Kakashi's ninjutsu. Raiga easily recognized this ninjutsu. He waved the lightning fangs in his hand, and 2 lightning strikes fell. Without evading at all, the Raikiri in Yuta's hand slammed into the lightning bolt directly. He cut off the lightning bolt abruptly, and rushed towards Raiga again. What? Raiga's face changed color, seeing Yuta coming straight at him. He was about to mobilize the lightning to form an armor to protect himself, but it was too late. The lightning release defense that was barely formed was easily penetrated by Yuta. With the high-speed assault, the flashing electric palm directly stabbed into Raiga's chest. Chapter 37, Obito, do you want real power? He actually cut off the lightning. White Zetsu's mouth widened in shock, looking at the scene ahead. He had been looking forward to seeing Yuta open the 8 inner gates. But the result was unexpected. With the lightning release ninjutsu, he rushed directly to Raiga. Is that Kakashi's Chidori? It isn't like it though. Black Zetsu said in a hoarse voice, looking at Obito next to him. In matters related to Kakashi, Obito is the guy to ask. Looks alike, but not the same. Obito thought for a moment and said, the first is the sound. There is no sharp sound of Chidori. Then there is the power. Kakashi's Chidori shouldn't be able to cut through lightning. White Zetsu speculated, could it be that Kakashi improved Chidori again? It should be possible. After all, he is a lightning release genius who created his own A-rank lightning release ninjutsu at the age of 12. After so many years, it is reasonable for him to further improve this famous ninjutsu. Compared to Kakashi, I think it's more likely that Yuta made these improvements himself. I thought he would have to rely on the 8 inner gates. I didn't expect him to kill Raiga like this. I really underestimated him. Obito said leisurely. He improved it himself. How is it possible? Isn't he too young? White Zetsu couldn't believe it. Nothing is impossible. The other party is a genius who awakened the 3 Tomo Sharingan at the age of 10. We can't speculate about him with common sense. Black Zetsu said. He had been lurking in the ninja world for thousands of years and had seen many Uchihas. A genius who can awaken the 3 Tomo Sharingan at this age is a rare genius. He seems to have sensed us. Interesting. Obito said with interest when he saw Yuta, who had clearly defeated Raiga, but had not yet relaxed. At this moment, he no longer hid his figure, and passed through the woods like a phantom. First meeting, Uchiha Yuta. Yuta took a deep breath and suppressed his fluctuating mood. Since just now, he had always felt that someone was watching him secretly. He was not sure if it was a genjutsu, so he didn't use 8 inner gates against Raiga before. He wanted to guard against possible enemies in the dark. The enemy turned out to be Uchiha Obito. The moment he saw the other party's one-eyed spiral mask, Yuta realized who he was. Thinking quickly in his heart, he speculated about the other party's intention. Don't be nervous, I have no ill will towards you. Don't you want to know why Raiga came to attack you? Obito said in a low voice. For Obito's first sentence, Yuta directly regarded it as nonsense. Obito has great malice towards the entire Uchiha clan. On the night of genocide, 2 people had a great harvest of the Sharingan, one was Danzo and the other was Obito. With full vigilance, Yuta opened his mouth and said, "Who sent my information to Kirigakure?" "You are clever." Obito appreciated Yuta. "It's the people from the route who disclosed your garrison schedule and information about your strength to Kirigakure. Then Kirigakure sent someone to kill you." "Kirigakure sent out one of the 7 ninja swordmen. They thought it should be foolproof, but you killed him." As he spoke, Obito looked at Raiga, who had completely lost his life, without regret. Anyway, the entire Kirigakure was just his tool. It is not a pity to lose a ninja. Yuta didn't believe Obito's intention. However, when he heard the root, it was as if another nail had been hammered to the ground, confirming his previous guess. "Sure enough, it's you, Danzo." Throughout the entire Naruto world, Danzo can be said to be the main villain. The genocide of Uchiha led to the tragedy of Sasuke's life. Together with Hanzo, he tried to destroy the Akatsuki and caused Pain to become mid-stage boss of Naruto. The death of Yakushi Nono led to the tragedy of Yakushi Kabuto's life, and Yakushi Kabuto later became one of the initiators of the Fourth Ninja World War. Yuta also knew that he might be targeted by Danzo in the future. But he didn't expect Danzo to want to kill him now. To kill him, he didn't even hesitate to send military intelligence to Kirigakure. For a while, Yuta couldn't help but itch with hatred. Nice mood. Obito chuckled and said, "The darkness of Konoha is far beyond your imagination. Continue to hate, hatred will give you strength." Yuta's face was expressionless. "What exactly are you trying to say? How dark is Konoha? Do I need you to tell me that? In addition to telling you about the root, this time I also want to tell you a secret knowledge, a secret that was actively buried by the Uchiha clan. As an Uchiha, you should have heard the legend of the Mangekyo Sharingan, right?" Obito spoke casually, and when he saw Yuta on the opposite side, he seemed to be intrigued, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly under the mask. "If you want to awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan, if you want to get real power, kill the person who matters most to you. That way, you can get the power to take revenge on Danzo. I won't ask if what you said is true or false." Yuta said what he really wanted to ask, "What are you trying to plot by telling me this?" Obito chuckled, and his figure suddenly became distorted and gradually disappeared. Before leaving, he said, "You'll find out later, and look forward to our next meeting." Not far away, a figure arrived at high speed with the body flicker technique. "Yuta, what happened here?" Shisui looked at the messy ground and the corpse of a Kirigakure ninja, and said in amazement. He was on a daily patrol nearby, but noticed signs of lightning release here, and rushed over immediately. "It's finally safe." Yuta was relieved after confirming that Obito had left and Shisui had also arrived. Chapter 38, Sarutobi Huruzen's Lies. You were attacked by Kurosuke Raiga, and you were able to kill him in a face-to-face confrontation. Shisui checked the body on the ground. After confirming that it was indeed Raiga of the 7 ninja swordsmen, he became even more surprised. As one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, the strength of the Raiga is naturally not bad. And Yuta, who could kill Raiga in a frontal battle, no matter how he looked, had the combat power of an elite jonin. At such a young age, he has such strength. Shisui thought that at Yuta's age, although he was already famous on the battlefield of the Third Ninja World War, he did not have a record of killing an elite jonin. "He came here specifically to kill me. He knew that I would be stationed here today, and he even knew my detailed strength. In addition, the ninjas stationed in the 2 nearby strongholds should have been killed," Yuta said with a serious expression. However, he did not say that Danzo was behind the scenes. After all, this news came from Obito, and it was not a light matter. Hearing Yuta's words, Shisui's face changed immediately. There are only 2 possible reasons for this to happen. Either the people of Konoha sent the information to Kirigakure, or Kirigakure planted a spy in Konoha. The latter is okay, but if it is the former, who would do such a chilling thing? Almost instinctively, Shisui preferred to believe the second reason. It would be better if Kirigakure had installed a spy. After a moment of contemplation, Shisui said, "It just so happens that the invasion operation on Kirigakure's side is basically over. After going back soon, I will report the matter to Lord Hokage." He believed that Lord Hokage could give him an explanation. "I hope so." Yuta said so, but he didn't have any hope in his heart. Rear Command Center. After Sarutobi Huruzen read the report in his hand, his face was not very good. That Uchiha Yuta actually killed one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. This brat is getting stronger and stronger. A genius in the Uchiha clan is not good for the Sarutobi clan. The other 2 people who were stationed in the stronghold were killed, and he was the only one who survived in the 3 adjacent strongholds. "Hey, it's really good luck," Sarutobi Kaze said with a bitter face. Sarutobi Huruzen frowned, and suddenly recalled the fact that a ninja had checked the records of the garrison. He felt as though he had noticed something. Could it be that the purpose of Raiga's attack was to kill Yuta, and this assassination was related to the root? He became more and more certain of his conjecture. Sarutobi Huruzen ordered, "Go to Uchiha's side to inform them, and immediately send Raiga's body back to the village, saying them to get the information in his mind as soon as possible." After the command, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch slightly. If this matter is really related to the root, that would be bad. Hokage Building. "Lord Hokage, I wonder how the investigation is going on about the attack of Raiga. Was there some spy in the village who sent my information to Kirigakure?" Yuta, who had just returned to the village, asked. There was no expectation in his heart. Even the corpse was transferred in advance by Sarutobi Huruzen, and it was impossible to investigate and obtain evidence on his own. Now, about the reason, this old guy Sarutobi Huruzen will just talk nonsense, right? As predicted, Sarutobi Huruzen said, "A spy from Kirigakure got into Konoha. They obtained the information about your strength, and planned an attack on you. Don't worry, if the village's own people betray their companions, no matter who they are, I will never tolerate them." Sarutobi Huruzen spoke with a just and righteous expression, as if he had the determination to even kill his relatives if they were the culprit. If Shisui was here, he would have believed it by now. However, Yuta sneered in his heart. Never tolerate. What a joke. Sarutobi Huruzen made a few more perfunctory sentences, and then opened his mouth with a warm face. "Speaking of which, Yuta, you went directly to the battlefield after you became a chunin, and you haven't decided where to go. How about it, do you want to consider taking a job at Umbu?" Hiss. Yuta almost exploded with anger. He couldn't help but be shocked by Sarutobi Hiruzen's thick skin. What is this? He has no shame. It was Danzo who gave the information to Kirigakure, and he didn't believe that Sarutobi Huruzen hadn't found out about this. Sarutobi Huruzen couldn't give him a proper explanation, and was just perfunctory. Now he wasn't even embarrassed to recruit him to join the Umbu. "Sorry, Lord Hokage, I plan to join the police force so that I can spend more time training." Although his inner thoughts were surging, Yuta calmly refused. "Okay." Sarutobi Huruzen couldn't hide the pity on his face, and gave a few words of encouragement. Seeing Yuta leaving the Hokage building, Sarutobi Hiruzen's face turned ugly. "Umbu, tell Danzo to come." In his opinion, the reason why Yuta rejected his solicitation was all Danzo's fault. Although he was sure that Yuta didn't know that Danzo did it, Yuta didn't even get any information about this Kirigakure spy. In this case, it was inevitable that the other party would be dissatisfied. If Danzo hadn't acted on his own, he would now be able to take Yuta and Itachi, the 2 new Uchiha geniuses, into his hands. It didn't take long for Danzo to arrive. As soon as he saw Danzo, Sarutobi Huruzen said, "Danzo, look at what you've done." Of course Danzo knew what Sarutobi Huruzen was talking about. He said indifferently, "Isn't it okay? Even if Raiga's body is handed over to the Uchiha, they won't be able to find anything." Since Abirame Toryun was responsible for doing this mission, Danzo was confident that nothing was left behind. The only pity was that Yuta's strength was mistimate. Kirigakure sent one of the 7 ninja swordsmen but still failed to kill him. Danzo didn't think he had done anything wrong in his heart. His resentment of Yuta even increased a little. "Is it okay?" Sarutobi Huruzen wanted to laugh angrily. "Now Yuta obviously has no trust in the village, is it okay? If you hadn't acted on your own, there would have been one more Uchiha leaning towards the village today." Danzo frowned coldly. Yuta is not the same as Itachi. Even without this, I don't think he would join the Umbu. Furthermore, the power of the Uchiha clan is too strong. Take Yuta as an example, give him a few more years and he will be the next Shisui. Now that the Uchiha clan has become more and more dissatisfied with the village, what if they stage a coup? In this case, wouldn't it be a good thing to get rid of one of Uchiha's geniuses early? Sarutobi Huruzen frowned. He smoked his pipe, and did not speak for a long time. Chapter 39, Kotoamatsukami. Shisui, you have worked hard. You should be the first person to deal such massive damage to those Kirigakure ninjas. Sarutobi Huruzen said cheerfully. This is true. Many times, when Kirigakure ninjas found that Shisui was blocking the road ahead, they immediately abandoned their mission. In the past, there were only 2 Konoha ninjas who caused the other villages to give the retreat on sight order, Konoha's White Fang, Yellow Flash. Now that the times had changed, and after both of them had passed away, Shisui had emerged to take their place. Lord Hokage is wrong, it's the credit of all the comrades on the battlefield. Shisui said modestly. After a few more chats, Sarutobi Huruzen asked about a special mission that he had previously assigned to Shisui. That is to get close to Yuta and examine his outlook on the will of fire. Shisui considered his language and said, Yuta gets along well with his mission companions in most cases, and he is also very popular in the Uchiha clan. In terms of war, he tends to kill more enemies for peace, which I don't think is the right way. For the companions that he respects, Yuta works hard to protect them. In general, I think Yuta is a ninja who loves the village and his companions and accepts the will of fire. Sarutobi Huruzen nodded again and again, but he couldn't help but have some doubts in his heart. According to Shisui, Yuta was more similar to normal Uchihas than his preferred Uchihas like Shisui and Itachi who were more village-oriented. For a time, he couldn't help but agree with Danzo's words. Even without Danzo's attack, Yuta probably wouldn't have joined the Umbu. Fortunately, although Shisui was not an Umbu, he was still under his command. The Uchiha's new generation's genius, Itachi, was also at his disposal. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Huruzen said with a warm face, I believe that Yuta, like Shisui and Itachi, is also an excellent ninja who loves the village. Now that Yuta intends to serve in the police force, he will be placed under you. At that time, you will need to guide him with the will of fire. Shisui nodded again and again. There was some hesitation in his heart, not knowing whether he should persuade Sarutobi Huruzen to restrain the Sarutobi clan. He was still hesitating in his heart when he heard Sarutobi Huruzen suddenly say, Shisui, now the Uchiha clan's prejudice against the village is getting deeper and deeper. Alas, it's all due to my incompetence as the Hokage. While talking, he took off the Hokage hat, revealing his white hair. He turned and looked up at the Hokage rock, as if he was about to shed some tears. Seeing this, Shisui couldn't help feeling sour. Lord Hokage is already an old man in his 60s, but he still has to worry about the future of the village. With a heavy heart, he forgot the words of persuasion in his heart and blurted out, Lord Hokage, I will try my best to change the people's distrust of the village. Sarutobi Huruzen frowned with his back to Shisui. Everything about this kid Shisui is fine, but he's just too childish. The grievances accumulated over the years or even decades by a whole clan can't be changed so easily. The Uchiha's grievances against the village are not only due to being isolated from the real power center of the village for a long time. To be more specific, it was because of the village suspecting the Uchiha for the Nine Tails incident, and the subsequent forced removal of Uchiha's clan land, as well as the Umbu's surveillance of the Uchiha's new clan land. How could all the grievances that had been constantly added up be resolved by just Shisui, a young man? However, on the surface, Sarutobi Huruzen still had a relieved expression. In that case, I will arrange a special task for you. The time interval of the mission is uncertain, and the content is to restore the Uchiha clan's trust in the village. It's just that if your efforts fail and the Uchiha clan eventually launches a coup, what will you do then? Shirsue's body trembled, as if thinking of something that he didn't want to recall. After struggling for a long time, he looked up, and the 3-tomo Sharingan pattern in his eyes began to change. This is... Sarutobi Huruzen became startled and looked at the Sharingan that had been connected to the 4E phone car pattern. Mangekyo Sharingan. Shirsue's Sharingan has been upgraded to Mangekyo. If the Uchiha plan a coup in the future, I will use my pupil technique Kotoamatsukami to control the clan leader Fugaku and dispel the clan's coup attempt. Immediately, Shirsue also explained the effects of his Kotoamatsukami. Sarutobi Hiruzen's body almost froze, and he couldn't help but look away from Shirsue. Kotoamatsukami, a genjutsu that can silently modify the will of others. This kind of power that can completely change or even control a person quietly, is really terrifying. Sarutobi Huruzen breathed a sigh of relief when he thought that Shirsue had even told him this. After asking again and confirming that Shirsue had not informed anyone about Kotoamatsukami, Sarutobi Huruzen became even more relieved. He felt proud of himself. Thanks to his education of the will of fire day after day, year after year, Shirsue can now be fully used by him. And Shirsue can control Uchiha Fugaku with the Kotoamatsukami, and at that time, the entire Uchiha clan will be at his disposal. His Hokage position will also be more solid. Thinking of a bright future, Sarutobi Huruzen said with a gentle expression, "If that's the case, go ahead and try to change the people of the Uchiha clan." Seeing Shirsue leaving, Sarutobi Huruzen had no hope for this mission at all. His heart had long been flying to the future where the Uchiha clan is completely controlled by him. Chapter 40, Joining the Police Force. You actually killed 5 Jonin. Tekka just learned about Yuta's record on the Kirigakure battlefield, and couldn't help but be stunned. A total of 5 Jonins were killed, of which only 1 was killed with a companion, and the other 4 were single kills. Among them, there was even one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. For a moment, Tekka looked at Yuta like he had seen a ghost. As one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Raiga is so powerful that even if he were to deal with him, he would have to seriously fight hard. Doesn't this mean that Yuta's current strength is no less than his? How long has it been since he met Yuta? Before the chunin exam a few months ago, he would still teach Yuta occasionally. It's really amazing. When it comes to talent, you're no worse than Shirsue. Fugaku also nodded with a look of relief. Although Yuta's talent and strength had always overwhelmed his son Itachi, Yuta was still his own family after all. Yuta is more talented than me. Shirsue said modestly, I grew up during the war, and I had been on the battlefield since I was 7 years old. Naturally, my strength improved faster. And Yuta basically grew up in peacetime, but he was able to awaken the 3-tomo Sharingan at the same age as me. Also, at Yuta's age, I couldn't kill an elite Jonin. Hearing this, Inabi on the side couldn't help but complain, Shirsue, don't be humble. At least, you have a record of killing a Jonin at Yuta's age. On the other hand, if I and Hogan met a Jonin at this age, we would only be able to run for our lives. Tekka also nodded, and suddenly thought of something. He said, speaking of which, with Yuta's record, this time he should be able to become a Jonin, right? Suddenly, everyone became serious. Jonin. This not only represents a ninja's strength, but it also means that a ninja has become a core member of the village. After becoming a Jonin, it is possible to hold leadership positions in various departments of the village. However, there is no Jonin exam like the chunin exam. To become a Jonin, the Hokage must conduct a comprehensive assessment of the ninja. Those who are assessed by the Hokage to have met the Jonin standard are granted Jonin status. Fugaku looked a little embarrassed and took out a document. It's a pity that Yuta's promotion to a Jonin may have to be delayed for a while. The document was a list of this year's newest Jonins. Yuta took it to take a look, and sure enough, he didn't find his name. Glancing around, he found another name. Sarutobi Kaze. That guy actually became a Jonin, hee. Yuta couldn't help sneering. Sarutobi Kaze was a special Jonin before. Now he had become an official Jonin. He took a closer look at the list and saw that there were quite a few people from the Sarutobi clan above. Now, Yuta understood something. This was how the 3,000 ninja army of the Sarutobi clan in the original Fourth Ninja World War came into existence. Their strength is not enough, but they were given Jonin status in advance and the corresponding resources anyway. Then those ninjas would take these resources to accelerate their training. Sarutobi Huruzen really takes care of his family. Tekka and Inabi, who were aside, were not surprised by this list. They had seen this same situation many times. However, they could do nothing but sneer at the Sarutobi clan. Shisui said with a slightly embarrassed expression, "The ninjas of the Sarutobi clan have also made a lot of contributions on the battlefield." Yuta wasn't surprised that Shisui would say this. What contribution did the Sarutobi clansmen make? Basically, they were only doing simple tasks such as escorting supplies in the rear without much risk. Just based on these qualifications, they were promoted to a Jonin, so it was no wonder that the Uchihas resented them. Seeing Yuta, who seemed a little dissatisfied, Fugaku was prepared to comfort him. According to your strength, if you became a Jonin this time, you could become a captain on the police force. However, although you didn't get promoted to a Jonin this time, I can make an exception and let you become a captain in the police force directly. Yuta nodded and thanked him. Previously, the reason why he refused to join the Umbu and chose the police force was because he wanted more time to train. On the other hand, it was also out of consideration for the Night of Genocide in the future. The Night of the Genocide is not only his business, so it is necessary to get the help of as many Uchihas as possible. Besides, he also needs to develop a force containing his people. Danzo has already attacked him once before, what if he does it again in the future? With his strength, he may not need to be afraid of anything, but what about Izumi's family? If he has the support of other people, all kinds of things will be more convenient. And the police force is a good place for that. Shisui thought of the task that Lord Hokage had explained, and hurriedly said, "It just so happens that there is a vacancy for the leader of the squad under me, so Yuta can go over there." It was naturally fine for Yuta to agree to Shisui's suggestion. Finally, before leaving, he went to Fugaku to apply for a seal that was unique to the Uchiha clan. Transcription Seal. Chapter 41, Transcription Seal. Yuta, it hurts. It'll be fine soon. You should be careful, it's very fragile there. Inside the house, a series of strange conversations sounded. In fact, Yuta was just using the transcription seal to set up a defensive genjutsu in Izumi's eyes. After being attacked once by Danzo through Kirigakure, he had been thinking about a way to ensure the safety of Izumi and her family. Although Izumi has undergone his daily training, and is an elite chunin, Izumi's parents are not even ninjas. Therefore, he thought of using the transcription seal to provide them with a form of protection. All right. He let out a long sigh, and after it was finally finished, Yuta's heart became relieved. What have you done to me? Izumi touched her eyes, feeling that something was not right. It's as if something has entered her body. Yuta deactivated his Sharingan and explained patiently, "I used the transcription seal to set up 2 defensive genjutsus in your eyes. You should have heard of the transcription seal. This is a technique that allows a technique to be lodged in the eyes of the target and released when certain conditions are met." Izumi blinked, feeling somewhat confused. Why set genjutsu in her eyes? Could it be that she will encounter danger in the village? Suddenly thinking of what Yuta had told her before about being attacked by one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Izumi thought of something. She said, "Could it be that when you were attacked by that Raiga before, it was the work of a person in Konoha?" That's right. Yuta didn't hide it from Izumi, and said it directly. The person behind that incident is a high-level village official called Shimura Danzo, but you don't need to worry about him that much for the time being. Just be sure to remember that when you encounter someone wearing a mask, no matter what kind of mask, you must be careful, vigilant, and run away quickly. The masked people who could threaten Izumi and her family because of him could be Umbu, Root, or even Obito. Danzo. Izumi took this unheard name seriously. However, at her current age, she still couldn't understand why the village would want to harm her and Yuta. After telling Izumi to not tell what he had just explained, Yuta began to explain the transcription seal. I set a genjutsu in each of your eyes. I set 2 trigger conditions. It can either be passively triggered when you are stunned by external forces, or actively triggered by yourself. If the enemy is unprepared, even a jonin can be defeated. It can overwhelm a jonin. Izumi was slightly stunned, and a little surprised. Yuta, how strong are you now? Before leaving for Kirigakure, Yuta had just passed the chunin exam. Now he can actually bring down a jonin with a single genjutsu. Probably, a top-tier elite jonin. Yuta said without reservation. His comprehensive strength was not far from being promoted to the next level. He wondered what new talents he would acquire by then. Okay, now that the genjutsu has been set up, it's time to try and see if the setting is successful. While speaking, Yuta hardened his heart. He raised his sword, and aimed it at Izumi's neck. Izumi blinked, but before she could react, she was knocked unconscious. Soon after. Uchiha's handmade pancake shop. Humph. Izumi nibbled at the pancake and turned her head away. I was wrong. Isn't this a test to see if the set conditions are successful? Then tell me about it in advance. You just attacked me all of a sudden. Think about it, if you were prepared to be knocked out in advance, wouldn't it feel worse? That seems to make sense. Forget it, I forgive you. Just now, because it was the first time he had used the transcription seal, and the set conditions were complicated, Yuta purposely triggered the conditions to see if it was working. And if he wants to trigger the conditions, he naturally has to knock Izumi out. As for the aftermath, the effect was very good. Before Izumi passed out, the genjutsu was successfully used on him. He also planned to set up a defensive genjutsu for Izumi's parents as well. At least, it would give them some self-protection. Uncle, here's a pancake. A person, who was slightly panting, ran over. It's Sasuke, aren't you going home for dinner? The owner came out with a smile. He is also a member of the Uchiha clan, but is not a ninja. Instead, he runs a pancake shop in the Uchiha clan. He basically knows everything about the children in the clan. My big brother is going to take time out today to practice shuriken jutsu with me. Sasuke took the pancake with an excited look on his face. Itachi had been very busy since he had joined the Umbu. Today he finally found time to practice with Sasuke. Seeing Yuta next to him, Sasuke quickly greeted him politely. He also knew this genius who was as famous as his big brother. Yuta smiled and nodded to Sasuke, but suddenly felt a sense of prying. He frowned and looked towards the source of the peeping sensation. He saw a camera with a reflective lens hidden near the clan. That's what the Umbu used to monitor the Uchiha clan lands. What a disappointment. Yuta's mood suddenly changed a lot. No wonder the clansmen had such a negative opinion of the village. They are under surveillance like this every day, with no privacy at all, who can stand it? At first, the village monitored the Uchiha clan, saying that they wanted to find out who was behind the Nine Tails Rebellion. But it's been almost 5 years since then. According to Yuta, the purpose of the surveillance may be to prevent Uchiha family from launching a coup, right? Chapter 42, Kakashi's Shock. After setting up some defensive genjutsus on Izumi's family, Yuta went to Kakashi. He had completed some improvements to Chidori. Now, with the help of lightning release prodigy talent, he planned to learn lightning release stimulation method and Kirin. Yuta intends to gradually learn the latter by exploring it himself. As for the former, he had tried it himself before, and found that there was a big problem. If no one guides you, exploring the lightning release stimulation method on your own can easily hurt your body. Instead of wasting time and getting bruised all over, it's better to ask Kakashi directly. You want to learn lightning release stimulation? Kakashi had taken a rare vacation today. He put away the intimate paradise in his hand, and rubbed his hair in anguish. He was thinking about how to refuse. It is not that he was reluctant to teach Yuta. It's just that it would take a lot of time to learn the lightning release stimulation method. His job at Umbu is very busy, and he rarely gets vacations. If he really teaches Yuta, it may take a long time. Yuta saw Kakashi's hesitation and said directly, speaking of which, I would like to thank Senior for showing me Chidori before. I have made some small improvements to Chidori. I have named this new technique Raikiri because I used this lightning release ninjutsu to cut Raiga. As he spoke, lightning flashed in his hand. There was no sharp noise like that of thousands of birds chirping in unison, but a fine electric sound. This is... Kakashi's face changed color suddenly and he used the Sharingan directly. He checked Raikiri out carefully. The sound was much lower than his Chidori. Moreover, the piercing ability was stronger, but he didn't know by how much. This is an enhanced version of Chidori. Raikiri. I was thinking about improving Chidori before, but unfortunately I haven't had time. Kakashi said with some emotion. Unexpectedly, the advanced Chidori he envisioned was created by Guy's student before him. At this moment, without hesitation, he directly recorded the chakra flow in Yuta's body with the Sharingan. However, at this time, Kakashi realized that something was wrong. With a slightly hesitant expression, he said, "What are the hand seals for your Raikiri? Although you, Uchiha Yuta, don't need a hand seal for ninjutsu, but he, Hatake Kakashi, does. Only recording the flow of chakra is not enough to use the ninjutsu. The corresponding hand seals are also required to assist in the control of chakra." This. Yuta pondered for a moment and said, "Maybe it's time for Senior to explore and try it out on their own." Kakashi. Kakashi felt a little complicated inside. This was the first time that he felt envious of other people's talents. Wouldn't it be nice if he also didn't need to use hand seals to perform ninjutsu? How much effort can be saved? Never mind. It's just some hand seals. The flow of chakra has already been recorded, and then according to Chidori's hand seals, he should be able to easily solve the problem of hand seals. Kakashi pinched his forehead. Since Yuta had directly showed the improved Chidori, he couldn't refuse his request now. When he was about to make up his mind and sacrifice some reading time of Intimate Paradise to teach Yuta the lightning release stimulation, he heard Yuta speak again. "By the way, regarding Chidori, I have also made some morphological changes." While talking, Yuta showed off various Chidori-derived ninjutsus. This is Chidori Sharp Spear, a Chidori derivative technique capable of long-range attacks. The lightning spear, like a laser, shot directly at a distance of 5 meters. This is Chidori Senbon. It can form a large number of small needles like Chidori. It tests the user's chakra control. This is Chidori Nagashi. It spreads Chidori all over the body and can attack all surrounding enemies in all directions. This is the Chidori Blade. Kakashi was stunned in place, watching Yuta show off numerous variations of Chidori one by one. He mechanically copied the ninjutsus with his Sharingan. He even wondered if Chidori was really his ninjutsu in the first place. Why was Yuta more skilled than him? It's as if he, the founder of Chidori, had become a shameless thief. At last. After seeing that Yuta finally finished showing all his Chidori variations, Kakashi came back to his senses. He said with some confusion, "These were all created by you." It had only been a few months since Yuta had copied Chidori from him. He had already created this many ninjutsus based on Chidori. How difficult is it to create a ninjutsu? Can he, the person who created Chidori himself, not know? Even his teacher Namikaze Minato, a well-known genius, took 3 years to complete the creation of Reiznon. "I just made some minor improvements," Yuta said modestly. Moreover, the reason he could create these Chidori variations so fast was because he had a predetermined direction in his mind. These were all ninjutsus created by future Sasuke in the original story. It's just that he had developed it in advance. Coupled with the lightning release prodigy talent acquired through the system, it took very little time to create these. Yuta looked up at Kakashi. He had already shown Kakashi so much ninjutsu, now 8 should be embarrassed to say no, right? After Kakashi's shock subsided, he recalled Yuta's intention at the beginning. After copying so many ninjutsu from the other party wants to ask the lightning-style stimulation method, so he can't help but teach him, right? It's just that there was still some regret in his heart. There may be less time to read the Intimate Paradise for a while. After coughing twice, Kakashi said, "To use lightning release stimulation method, you have to stimulate the whole body through lightning chakra to improve speed, strength, explosiveness, and reaction ability in all aspects. Even with my guidance, there is a possibility of accidental injury. Also, it will take a lot of time, so be prepared." Chapter 43, Quasi-Kage Level Strength. There are 2 main steps for the lightning release stimulation. Kakashi explained seriously. The first step is to use lightning chakra to stimulate the muscles of the whole body and improve muscle capacity. In this step, the body's speed, strength, and explosiveness will be explosively improved. Just look at the original Chunin exam to find out. Sasuke couldn't match Rock Lee at all in speed, but after learning the lightning release stimulation method with Kakashi's special training, his speed could be equal to that of Rock Lee's. As for the second step, lightning chakra is used to stimulate all nerves, especially the optic nerve. Kakashi said with a serious face. This step is the most troublesome and most dangerous. Nerves are far more fragile than muscles. Also, nerve problems are more serious than muscle problems. But if this step is successful, the benefits are huge. After all, after your speed has improved, if the corresponding reaction ability and insight ability have not improved, the speed will be pretty much useless. Yuta nodded slowly, somewhat understanding. He thought of the battle between Sasuke and the fourth Raikage in the original book. The fourth Raikage was able to dodge the Amaterasu that Sasuke could unleash by sight. It could be seen that the fourth Raikage was far beyond ordinary people, whether it is the insight of his eyes, the responsive speed of his brain, or the speed of his body. And Kakashi's lightning release stimulation method can be said to be a weakened version of fourth Raikage's lightning release chakra mode. If only he could learn fourth Raikage's lightning release chakra mode directly. Yuta couldn't help thinking like this in his heart, but he also knew that it was impossible. He could only hope that when he becomes strong enough, he would be able to observe the fourth Raikage's lightning release chakra mode in actual combat. Soon, under the guidance of Kakashi, Yuta started the first stage of training. From the limbs, to the chest, abdomen, and waist, he used lightning chakra to activate the muscles in the corresponding parts. You're progressing very fast. It looks like your lightning release talent is pretty good. Kakashi sighed slightly. But as soon as he finished speaking, he shook his head, realizing that he had said something nonsensical. Yuta could create so many advanced ninjutsu from his Chidori, can his lightning release talent be bad? After about 2 hours, Yuta successfully completed the first step. Around his body, fine arcs appeared from time to time. Yuta jumped and flashed nearby at high speed a few times, and found that his speed was much higher than before. However, because of the increase in his speed, he had to activate his Sharingan to keep up. The improvement is really great, Yuta said with satisfaction. The reason he wanted to learn lightning release stimulation was to increase his speed. He was very clear about his situation. Compared with the real Kage-level powerhouses, what he lacks is not ninjutsu, but the most basic strength and speed. After all, his age limits his physical development. Before his physical development reaches the peak, HR can only rely on various means to improve his speed and strength. Okay, let's proceed to the second stage of training, Kakashi said, looking a little more serious. Although Yuta easily completed the first stage, the second stage would definitely take more time. Without him, Yuta may easily hurt himself during the second stage of training. If he accidentally hurts his nerves, he will have to rest for a long time to recover. The reason why Kakashi planned to refuse before was because he felt that this step was too time-consuming. Yuta's expression also became serious. He tried the second stage with utmost care. However, he soon found out. This step doesn't seem to be difficult. While following Kakashi's guidance to stimulate the nerves, he summed up the key points of this step in his heart. First, there needs to be a very fine manipulation of chakra. Chakra, which is used to stimulate nerves, can hurt oneself if it is not controlled well. With Indra's innate chakra control ability, he could easily control and mobilize the chakra in his body. Second, it is necessary to stimulate the corresponding nerve with the most appropriate amount of chakra. If there is less chakra, the stimulation to the nerves will not be enough. If there is too much chakra, it will hurt the nerves. Therefore, it is necessary to control the most suitable amount of chakra to stimulate the nerves. And regarding this amount, even Kakashi can't say it specifically. He can only let Yuta gradually know what it is through trial and error. Yuta had the God-level lightning release talent he had acquired through the system. With this talent, he could easily understand the amount of chakra that needed to be used. For a while, Yuta couldn't help but sigh in his heart. In the ninja world, talent and bloodline are the most important things. Time passed little by little. Kakashi became more and more shocked inside. At first, when he watched Yuta stimulate his nerves, he noticed that he was controlling his chakra carefully, for fear of making a mistake. Later, Yuta gradually became more and more relaxed, and he could now basically control his chakra at will. Many times when he thought that Yuta might be injured, it turned out that the amount of chakra was just right. Soon, Yuta completed the second stage of training. It took a little more time to get the muscles and nerves stimulated at the same time. Now, there was no need for Sharingan to keep up with his improved speed. I wonder how much different my current reflexes are from the fourth Raikage who dodged Amaterasu at close range. Yuta couldn't help thinking like this in his heart. You actually finished it in one day, you're really a genius. Kakashi said with emotion. He never imagined that there would be a day when he would praise the talent of others. It should have been a good thing for Yuta to learn the technique in one day. That way, it won't take up the rest of his vacation time. His appreciation of literary works will also not be delayed. But now, after seeing Yuta learning the lightning release stimulation method in one day, he felt a little frustrated. Being able to become a learned in one day meant that Yuta's lightning release talent was likely higher than his. It's all thanks to Senior's explanation, Yuta said modestly. At this time, the voice of the system suddenly appeared in his mind. Congratulations. Host's comprehensive strength has been improved to Quasi-Kage, weak. The overall strength of the host has been improved by a stage, and the system is analyzing new talents. Analyzing Uchiha Shirsui's talent. Analysis completed, increasing. Chapter 44, New Talent. After treating Kakashi to a meal to thank him, Yuta hurried back home. As soon as he got home, he eagerly opened the system panel. Comprehensive strength, Quasi-Kage, weak. Sharingan pupil power, LV3, 2000/5000. Chakra, LV4, 2000/5000. Chakra attributes, fire, lightning, wind. Talents, Indra Bloodline, Monster Physique, Lightning Release Prodigy, Genjutsu Grandmaster, Body Flicker Grandmaster. Genjutsu Grandmaster, your Genjutsu skills are superb and you can trap the enemy in the predicament of Genjutsu. Body Flicker Grandmaster, you can easily master all kinds of techniques with instant movement effect. Quasi-Kage level strength. Yuta's expression was a little complicated. He thought that after Jonin, the next stage would be Kage level. He didn't expect there to be such a stage in the middle. However, looking at it this way, Sharingan's pupil power and chakra are on the same level. His previous confusion about the difference in points required to upgrade chakra and Sharingan pupil power was solved. 5,000 points of Sharingan's pupil power is the level of Mangekyo. 5,000 points of chakra is Kage level. Sure enough, there is still a gap between me and a Kage level powerhouse. After being slightly lost for a while, Yuta quickly accepted the reality. He started calculating his current strength. He is good at taijutsu, and he has just learned the lightning release stimulation method, and his physical attributes have improved again. In terms of ninjutsu, he knows all kinds of Uchiha fire release ninjutsus, and various lightning release ninjutsu such as Chidori derivative ninjutsus. In terms of Genjutsu, although he didn't put much energy into it, with Sharingan, it wasn't a shortcoming of his. And he also had the 8 inner gates. With the base strength of Quasi-Kage level, relying on 8 inner gates, he may be able to fight against real Kage level powerhouse. My strength probably corresponds to that of Sasuke in the early days of Shippuden. Yuta guessed his current strength. The early days of Shippuden, or when Sasuke was with Orochimaru. Sasuke's taijutsu had been trained by Orochimaru for more than 2 years, and he was also good at fire release and lightning release ninjutsu. Sasuke had Curse Seal level 2, and he has 8 inner gates. Their strength is about the same. Relying on attribute restraint, Saki could even fight against Kage level powerhouses like Deidara. But when he met Itachi, he was easily suppressed. Yuta looked at his Sharingan pupil power data, and somewhat understood how much Itachi held back in that battle. My current Sharingan pupil power is 2,000 points, which should be the limit of ordinary 3-tomo Sharingan. If an Uchiha generally wants to continue to improve their pupil power after this, they can only try to mutate their Sharingan into the Mangekyo. The intensity of this mutation is pretty terrifying. It allows the pupil power to jump from 2,000 points to 5,000 points directly, more than doubling. Yuta felt a little emotional in his heart. In the original story, after the death of Shisui, Yashiro, Tekka, and Inabi once ran to question Itachi, but they were easily destroyed in seconds by the latter. These 3 people were Uchiha's elite Jonin, and they had all awakened the 3-tomo Sharingan. But in front of Itachi, whose pupil power had improved qualitatively, they had no power to fight back. In this way, Mangekyo cannot be said to be full of only problems. Compared with his pupil power, which can only be improved little by little, the awakening of Mangekyo can indeed improve the strength by leaps and bounds. After shaking his head and dispelling the thoughts in his mind, Yuta started to check the newly acquired talent. I actually got 2 talents at once, Genjutsu and Body Flicker Grandmaster, both of which Shisui is good at. Yuta checked the Genjutsu Grandmaster talent. He can now rely on this talent to improve the level of his Genjutsu. In this case, he can really become a Grandmaster in all 3 of Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, and Genjutsu. And this Body Flicker Grandmaster talent. Various techniques with flicker effects. Yuta read this sentence carefully. Body flicker technique is just a high-speed body movement technique with the use of chakra. And all kinds of instant movement effects. It means this includes all kinds of body flicker techniques, and even time and space ninjutsu like Flying Thunder God. Regarding the Flying Thunder God technique, this famous time-space ninjutsu, it is impossible to say that he does not care about it. But this kind of ninjutsu recorded in the Scroll of Seals is not easy to learn. What's more, he is a member of the Uchiha clan, and it is even more difficult to learn ninjutsus from the Scroll of Seals. Since he happened to be assigned to Shisui in the police force, he could ask Shisui for daily advice on Genjutsu and body flicker technique. On Konoha Street. Relying on the body flicker technique, Shisui easily stopped a fight between ninjas. When the 2 subdued ninjas saw that they were from the police force, they became rude. A coward of the Uchiha clan, you guys do nothing on the Night of 9 Tails, and only bully ordinary people like us. Wouldn't it be nice to keep being a shrunken turtle like in the 9 Tails night? Shisui explained with a very embarrassed expression, saying that the Uchiha clan was ordered to protect the civilians during the Night of 9 Tails. However, the 2 ninjas did not listen at all. Yuta looked at this scene with a blank expression, and thought it was no surprise. According to the Konoha management regulations, as a ninja who made trouble in the street, I will be detained for 48 hours. Shisui tried to explain again, but to no avail. They could only be restrained and let another police force comrade take them to custody. Alas! How can we reverse the village's impression of us? Shisui rubbed his hair in distress. He had been doing 2 things during this time. One was to reverse the villagers' impression of the Uchiha, and the other was to try to change the Uchiha's hostile and distrustful attitude towards the village. But both failed. What can these ordinary villagers know? Yuta reluctantly comforted him. He was placed as a squad leader under Shisui in the police force. During this time, he worked with Shisui and had a good relationship with him. Moreover, every time he asked about Genjutsu and body flicker technique, Shisui didn't hide anything from him. In his opinion, Shisui was good in every way, but his personality was too naive. Did he really think he could change the village or Uchiha by himself? The current attitude of the villagers towards the Uchiha must be because of someone leading the way. With man-made sabotage, whether Shisui wants to change the villagers or the Uchiha, he is doomed to fail. Chapter 45, Sarutobi Huruzen's Hypocrisy. By noon, the 2 planned to go to Ichiraku Ramen. Walking to the door of Ichiraku Ramen, an Umbu suddenly jumped out next to him, and said coldly, "Ninjas of the Uchiha clan, get out of here." Yuta frowned. He looked inside the store, and saw a little yellow-haired figure. A fire welled up in his heart. Which rule says that we Uchiha have to avoid him? Will we try to kidnap a child? Yuta said unceremoniously. However, the Umbu in front of him had no intention of retreating at all. In his mind, the Uchihas were suspected of being behind the 9 Tails rebellion, and they couldn't be allowed to get close to the 9 Tails Jinchuriki. What's more, these 2 people in front of him were from the Uchiha police force. Shisui also saw the figure of Uzumaki Naruto inside. Knowing that the 9 Tails Jinchuriki was there, he stopped Yuta, who was angry, and comforted him. "Okay, Yuta, let's change the place." But before the 2 of them left, Naruto, who was inside, finished eating and came out. At this moment, the passers-by who were looking at this side on the street all looked away. Some people even pointed at Naruto and told their children to avoid him. Seeing this, Yuta wanted to laugh even more. The son of the dignified 4th Hokage receives this kind of treatment in the village. Everyone calls Naruto Demon Fox. Who would believe that no one was behind the scenes? By the Naka River. Yuta was doing his daily training here. Recently, in addition to his daily physical exercises, he occasionally asked Shisui for help on Genjutsu techniques. There were also 2 additional training contents. One is to try to combine the lightning release stimulation method with the body flicker technique learned from Shisui. Shisui's body flicker technique is very complicated. It combines shadow clone and body flicker technique, and has speed boost of wind release. Shisui also uses Genjutsu to disrupt the senses of the target. With the body flicker grandmaster talent and wind release attribute, he was now able to learn Shisui's body flicker technique. But if he wanted to combine it with the lightning release stimulation method, there was another difficulty. The incompatibility between lightning release and wind release. With his current lightning release talent and body flicker technique talent, it is impossible to combine the 2 in a short time. As for another training content, it is the lightning release Kirin. This large-scale, high-intensity S-rank lightning release ninjutsu involves the mobilization of the forces of nature, and it is difficult to master. On the sky by the river. Lightning flashed from time to time in the dark clouds. In addition, Yuta used a fire release against the Naka River from time to time, and a large amount of water vapor made the dark clouds grow stronger. It's really difficult to control. Yuta used the 3 Tomo Sharingan to carefully observe the dark clouds in the sky, and controlled the thunder and lightning in the dark clouds from afar. The thunder and lightning inside were both formed through chakra and also naturally formed. The amount of lightning that was formed through the latter method was much more than the former. It was precisely because of this huge natural force that lightning release Kirin was so difficult to control. Suddenly, an Umbu jumped out next to him and warned, "Ninja of Uchiha, leave here and practice elsewhere." Looking at the thundercloud brewing with great power in the sky, the Umbu ninja was shocked. The Hokage and 9 Tails Jinchuriki were nearby. Such a dangerous ninjutsu. He had to drive Yuta away. However, he didn't hear Yuta reply, but a fist gradually became bigger in his eyes. The Umbu ninja's pupils shrank, and he wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Boom. A dull punch hit his face, and his whole body flew out. Did I give you too much respect and make you think I'm easy to bully? Yuta had a dark expression. Shisui had stopped him before, so he couldn't do too much. But now only he was here. These Umbus don't let him eat a meal, and they also want to drive him away when he is training. There is no end to these people's outrageousness. Swish swish. Next to the Umbu ninja, 2 more Umbus jumped out and looked at Yuta with alert expressions. Just now, before they could react, the captain was kicked out. And their captain was an official jonin. He was kicked out without even the slightest ability to respond. Although their captain was unprepared, but even so, Yuta instantly knocked him out in second, which showed his strength. When Yuta confronted several Umbu, an old laughter from the side sounded. Hee hee, it's just a misunderstanding. Sarutobi Huruzen walked towards this side. The Umbu are just doing their business. Behind him, a small yellow-haired boy, holding a grilled fish in his hand was following. Uzumaki Naruto. Seeing this, Yuta immediately understood the situation. Sarutobi Huruzen was routinely getting in touch with Naruto. Almost everyone in the village rejects Naruto. On the other hand, there is a kind grandfather, who treats you well, and even has a fish picnic with you. In this case, Naruto, a child who doesn't understand anything, can he not be moved? With this means, Sarutobi Huruzen can easily control the 9 Tails Jinchuriki. Lord Hokage is so busy with official business and he can still find time to accompany a child. Yuta said without any fluctuations in his tone. Sarutobi Huruzen said with a serious face, every child is the future of the village and needs to be taken care of. What the hell? Yuta just felt incredible. How could Sarutobi Huruzen say such a thing with no psychological burden? When Naruto was bullied and ostracized by the villagers, why didn't you or Umbu come out? At this moment, Yuta had no intention of staying here. If he stayed any longer, he was afraid he would vomit soon. Since Lord Hokage is here, I'll go to another place to practice. I just request Lord Hokage to discipline the Umbu. The villagers have always felt that our police department is unreasonable. Today, it seems that the Umbu are even more unreasonable than our police department. After saying that, Yuta left without looking back. Sarutobi Huruzen couldn't help frowning secretly as he watched the dark clouds in the sky. This Uchiha Yuta is getting stronger and stronger. Behind him, Naruto asked curiously, "Grandpa, that big brother just said you are the Hokage. What is the Hokage?" Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his head and said in a pleasant manner, "The Hokage is the one who protects all the villagers." Asterisk. Chapter 46, Itachi's Choice of Words. Konoha 54 years. Naka Shrine, Uchiha Clan Association. Most of the elite ninjas of the entire Uchiha clan were gathered here. Many clansmen looked resentful, venting their dissatisfaction with the village. How long are those goddamn Umbus going to keep an eye on us? On the night of the 9 Tails, we Uchiha wanted to fight, but Danzo asked us to protect the villagers. In turn, the villagers are saying that we are turtles. The village did not even come forward and explain. We were obviously performing official duties in accordance with the management regulations, but the villagers complain about us. The Umbu usually has various conflicts with our police force. The Uchiha clan was dissatisfied with being excluded from the core power of the village. In the years following the 9 Tails rebellion, this dissatisfaction had grown even greater due to the village's forced capture of their clan land and the Umbu's 24-hour surveillance. Some clansmen even occasionally talked about a coup d'état. In fact, the Uchihas have had a long-standing grievance with the village higher-ups. Right in front of Naka Shrine. All the top members of the police force, including Uchiha Fugaku, were here. The police department is similar to the Umbu. The leader is Uchiha Fugaku, the deputy leader is Uchiha Yashiro, and he also serves as the 1st Division commander. In addition, there are 3 officials: Uchiha Shisui, Uchiha Teka, and Uchiha Inabi. And Yuta is a squad leader under Shisui's 2nd detachment. Uchiha Yashiro looked around, saw that Yuta had not spoken, and asked, "Yuta, do you have any comments? I just hope that the village can cancel their surveillance of us right now. Do those Umbu think the cameras are hidden?" Yuta said with little interest. The voice fell, and many Uchihas responded. Especially the Uchihas who had awakened the 3 Tomo Sharingan. For the Uchihas who had awakened the 3 Tomo Sharingan, it was difficult to not see the large number of cameras near the clan. When walking on the street every day, or training on the clan's training ground, they would feel the almost pervasive sense of peeps around them. It was so annoying. Yashiro nodded and said with some regret, "Unfortunately, the clan leader mentioned this to the village again recently, but it was still rejected." In fact, this was not the first time it had been mentioned. Initially, the surveillance of the Uchiha clan was to find out who was behind the 9 Tails rebellion. So, at first, the Uchiha clan held back in order to clear the suspicion. However, it had been 6 years since the 9 Tails rebellion. After 6 years of surveillance, the Umbu still hadn't found anything unusual. But every time the Uchiha requested to lift the surveillance, they were always denied. "Itachi, you're with the Umbu. You have any news?" Yashiro asked Itachi at the back of the crowd. Itachi stood up, lowered his head slightly, and eyelids, and said, "I think part of the reason the village is monitoring the clan is because there have been too many gatherings in the clan recently. The village is afraid of what the Uchiha might do, so they are continuing to monitor the clan's land. So, I think the clan should reduce the number of rallies and show our goodwill to the higher-ups, in this case." As he spoke, Itachi suddenly found that the surroundings had become completely silent. Looking up, he saw that almost all the clan members were glaring at him, and Shisui in front of him was winking wildly at him. "Itachi!" Yashiro roared aggressively. "Which side are you on? I doubt your position now. Here we go again. It's the same thing again." Itachi frowned with dissatisfaction in his heart. "I am both Uchiha Itachi of the village and Uchiha Itachi of the Uchiha clan." On the side, Teka and Inabi also made some bad expressions. "If that's the case, then show your attitude as an Uchiha. According to what you mean, is it our fault that the Uchiha clan is being watched?" "Of course." Itachi wanted to say so. The clansmen are arrogant, aggressive, ignore the overall situation, and only care about themselves and not the village. In his opinion, the clansmen have completely lost their minds now, and they only know how to complain like grumpy women, venting their anger for nothing. And they have frequent gatherings, and even sometimes talk about a coup d'état. They completely ignore the peace of the village. But looking up and seeing Shirsue's worried eyes, Itachi gave in. I will reflect it to Lord Hokage and convey the thoughts of the clan. After the clan meeting, Shirsue found Itachi and said helplessly, Itachi, your situation just now was too dangerous. Just now, Itachi was fighting against almost all the Uchihas. Itachi even said that the Umbu were monitoring them because there were too many clan gatherings. Such words, let alone Itachi, even if he or Fugaku said it, they would be strongly opposed by the clan. I stand by my opinion. Itachi said firmly. I understand your distaste for the clan, but you should also consider the mood of the clan. It is normal for the clan to have some resentment after being monitored for so long. Shirsue said with a sigh. He had always wanted to restore the trust between his clan and the village. However, now the clansmen were starting to have more and more opinions about the village. Itachi didn't say anything, looking unmoved. Seeing this, Shirsue said with a somewhat complicated expression, let me tell you something, Itachi. The clansmen have let me monitor you on weekdays. They have gradually lost trust in you, thinking that you have completely surrendered to the village. Helping the clan monitor his own friends was something he didn't want to talk about. Itachi looked startled. Immediately, a strong sense of disgust came over him. The feeling of repulsion towards the clansmen in his heart could hardly be suppressed. Bowing his head slightly, Itachi covered his expression. Sorry, Shirsue, I'm leaving first. After saying that, he headed straight for the Hokage building. As an Umbu, he had to report the contents of the meeting to Lord Hokage. Shirsue looked very complicated. Initially, Itachi joined Umbu because of his recommendation. At that time, he had never imagined that the conflict between the clan and the village would become as big as it is today. So much so that Itachi had now become a double agent caught between the village and the clan. He reached out and stroked his eyes. Chapter 47, Danzo's attack on Shirsue. Hokage building. Today, Sarutobi Huruzen, Shimura Danzo, Mito Kato Hamura, and Yuta Koharu, the 4 senior Konoha leaders, were all present here. In front of them was Shirsue. Shirsue, I heard Itachi report that the Uchiha's next clan meeting may be to discuss the coup d'état. Sarutobi Huruzen asked with a sad face. Yes. Shirsue lowered his head helplessly. With Shirsue's confirmation, the 2 elders, Mito Kato Hamura and Yuta Koharu, suddenly changed their expressions. On the other hand, Danzo said very simply, in this case, it's better to strike first and send Umbu and Root directly to destroy the rebellion in advance. Sarutobi Huruzen frowned and scolded, Danzo, don't talk nonsense. But he turned his head again and said gently to Shirsue, Shirsue, tell me about your plan. Yes. Shirsue lowered his head deeper. I intend to control clan leader Fugaku at the rally and convince the clansmen to abandon the coup through him. You want to control Fugaku? Even if you are good at Genjutsu, you can't do it. Danzo said dismissively. As the clan leader of the Uchiha, how could Fugaku be easily controlled by a Genjutsu? I'll use my Mangekyo's pupil technique, Kotoamatsukami. Shirsue said in a difficult tone. He raised his head, showed his Mangekyo Sharingan, and talked about the ability of Kotoamatsukami. The moment Shirsue showed his Mangekyo, Danzo looked away subconsciously. Danzo became even more shocked when he heard about the power of Kotoamatsukami. The ability to silently modify the will of others. This dangerous ability must be eliminated. No. This kind of power must be in his hands. With the power of Kotoamatsukami, he can even become the Hokage. Danzo's heart was set on a fire that could not be extinguished. Sarutobi Huruzen, who was on the side, didn't know what his old friend was thinking. He helplessly said, it can only be like this. Thank you for your hard work, Shirsue, and act according to your plan. In his heart, Sarutobi Huruzen was complacent. When Shirsue takes control of Fugaku, the entire Uchiha clan will be at his disposal. Shirsue took the lead and left. Danzo and the 2 elders also left the Hokage building. Returning to the root base with a blank face, Danzo immediately ordered, mobilize the roots, prepare for action, target Shirsue. Next to the waterfall by the Naka River. Yuta was waiting here. As a transmigrator who knew the plot, he had a general understanding of the plot of Shisui's death. When he was notified by the clan council and realized that the clan council might discuss the coup d'état, he realized that Shisui would probably be attacked by Danzo this time. Yuta's perception of Shisui is very good. Not only because Shisui helped him in Genjutsu and body flicker technique without any reservation, but also because Shisui was different from Itachi. In the beginning, when he first came into contact with Shisui, he also thought that Shisui and Itachi were the same. After all, the reason why Itachi was like he was now was largely because of Shisui. But gradually, he discovered the difference between Shisui and Itachi. Simply put, Shisui has both Konoha and Uchiha in his heart. Itachi only has Konoha in his heart, not Uchiha. In the face of a coup, Shisui decided to die to stop the coup. In the face of the coup, Itachi decided to kill almost every Uchiha to stop the coup. Don't Yushiro and the others know that Shisui always had the village in his heart? They know, but they also know that Shisui is also the Shisui of Uchiha. So, even for things like monitoring Itachi, they entrusted it to Shisui. After Shisui's death in the original story, Yushiro, Tekka, and Inabi even went directly to Fugaku's house to question Itachi. Even the majesty of the clan leader was completely ignored. It could be seen that Shisui was very popular. On the other hand, Itachi. Yuta felt that Itachi seemed to have a prejudice against the Uchiha clan. The voices of the clansmen were completely ignored by him. He was only seeing the arrogance of the clansmen, but he was unable to understand the grievances of the clansmen. All in all, Shisui might have a chance to be saved, but Itachi was completely crooked, and there was no turning back for him. Before, Yuta had reminded Shisui to be careful of Danzo, but he didn't know if Shisui would listen to him. So just in case, he specially prepared to wait here today. At least, he didn't want to let Kotoamatsukami fall into Danzo's hands. Otherwise, what if Danzo uses Kotoamatsukami on him, or uses it on Izumi and lets Izumi kill? This must not be allowed to happen. But Yuta didn't know where Shisui was attacked. He only remembered that in the end Shisui threw himself into a waterfall and died, so he waited here at this waterfall. In front of the rumbling waterfall, 2 Uchiha ninjas in police uniforms rushed over. "Captain, the clan meeting is about to begin." These are the 2 members of his squad, Uchiha Lihua and Uchiha Karma. They were older than him. However, under Yuta's persuasion with reason and force, they became obedient. The talents of the 2 were not bad. Under his training in the past 2 years, they had reached the level of a jonin. Yuta shook his head and said, "Go ahead, I have something else to do." Taking a deep breath, he checked the system panel. Host, Uchiha Yuta. Age, 12 years old. Comprehensive strength, Quasi-Kage, strong. Sharingan pupil power, LV3, 4000/5000. Chakra, LV4, 4000/5000. In the past 2 years, with the development of his body, his strength had increased rapidly. Yuta waited until dusk. Suddenly, a loud noise sounded from the upper reaches of the Naka River. Between the trees, a giant green giant phantom appeared. Susanoo. Seeing this, Yuta didn't hesitate and rushed over with all his speed. Chapter 48, Want to kill Yuta with Shisui. What is it? In the woods. A group of roots looked at the green giant standing on the ground not far away, feeling horrified in their hearts. A terrifying power stared at them, making everyone feel chills, as if they were being stared at by some mythical beast. Susanoo. Danzo's only intact left eye at the moment was staring at the emerald green giant in front of him. Of course he knew about this divine power that Madara had once mastered. Shisui had already learned Susanoo. Even when one of his eyes was gouged out by him, he was still able to use the Susanoo. Sure enough, the Uchiha are born evil. Danzo recalled what the second Hokage had said, and at this moment, he agreed with these words even more in his heart. The Uchiha, who possess such dangerous power, are a threat to the village and must be eradicated. Immediately, he restrained the fearful look on his face and ordered, "Go on, kill him, he shouldn't be able to last long in his current state." Although they were terrified, the roots were basically tools that had been brainwashed by Danzo for a long time. At this moment, they all rushed towards Susanoo without fear of death. As Danzo said, "Shisui, who had lost one eye, would not be able to continue to use the Susanoo for long. Facing the large number of elite roots, Shisui could only escape with the help of body flicker technique. Suddenly, swish. Everyone looked towards the sound, only to see a figure with undulating electricity all over his body, coming straight towards this side. Uchiha Yuta. Danzo was relieved when he saw the face of the person who had come. Just one Uchiha Yuta, nothing at all. Even. Danzo's heart sank. Shisui and Yuta can just stay here today. These two people, one is considered to be the current strongest Uchiha, and the other is the strongest genius of the Uchiha's new generation. If the two of them can stay here today, the Uchiha clan will suffer greatly. Then it will be easier to deal with the Uchiha clan in the future. Go ahead and kill Yuta too. Danzo ordered without mercy. A root rushing to the front chased Shisui. With no emotion in his eyes, he slashed at Shisui's neck with the short sword in his hand. Swish. Suddenly, his heart was pierced, and blood flowed down. The root looked a little surprised, and looked down at the ninjutsu that had pierced his heart with difficulty. A lightning spear. It crossed a distance of several meters and killed him remotely. Chidori spear. After easily killing a root, Yuta grabbed Shisui. Then he retreated by using several body flicker techniques in a row, and bought some time. Shisui, how are you? Looking at Shisui's bloody right eye, Yuta sighed in his heart. He had clearly reminded Shisui to be careful with Danzo before, but his eye still got gouged. Leave now. Shisui gasped violently and said, I'm running out of chakra right now, and with Danzo taking my right eye away, I'm in poor shape. He didn't think that with Yuta's strength, he could deal with the enemy in front of him. However, if Yuta just left without him, it should be fine. In his heart, Shisui felt a burst of sadness. He was clearly determined to use Kotoamatsukami on Fugaku to stop the coup. But Danzo still didn't trust him, and even wanted to take his eyes. How can that be? Yuta pulled out the short sword on his back. He sighed at the roots on the opposite side, and Danzo in the distance with cold eyes. If I just leave like this, my anger can't go away. He had a grudge with Danzo too. Danzo had leaked his information to Kirigakure to try to get him killed. This account had not been settled yet. After instructing Shisui to protect himself, Yuta's whole body flashed with lightning, and his entire figure disappeared instantly. You didn't seize the opportunity to escape, but instead rushed towards me. Danzo sneered. He had also been paying attention to Yuta. At the age of 12, he was already an official jonin, serving as the captain of the police force. He had single-handedly killed one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Raiga, in the past. But even if Yuta had the combat power of an elite jonin, he wouldn't be able to deal with the large number of elites of his root. Danzo was even happy that Yuta was rushing towards him. He immediately ordered the root to organize and kill Yuta. 5 or 6 roots rushed towards Yuta from all directions, blocking all escape routes. Yuta's eyes flashed, and he quickly mobilized lightning chakra. Chidori Senbon. The dense and dazzling lightning chakra was released from all parts of his body, and all the roots that rushed towards him were covered by lightning. What is this? My body is paralyzed. Damn. I can't stop him. The roots who were hit by Chidori Senbon head-on had their muscles paralyzed and their minds froze. They could only watch Yuta continue to charge forward. Danzo, hand over Shisui's eye. Directly bypassing the roots, Yuta charged straight towards Danzo. Killing a root or two wouldn't do much. The important thing was that Shisui's Mangekyo, Kotoamatsukami, must not fall into Danzo's hands. Chapter 49, Extraordinary Speed. All the roots, who had completely abandoned Shisui at this moment, surrounded Yuta one after another. A Chidori spear shot out again, sweeping away at a root that rushed over. The root did not have time to retreat, and was penetrated in the abdomen by the sharp lightning spear. An extremely bloody smell filled the woods. Another root that was close to Yuta was hit by the sudden burst of Chidori, and his body fell into a state of paralysis. No, there's northwest way to get close to him. A root hurriedly said. Once hit by that whole body discharge ninjutsu, their body would be paralyzed and their combat effectiveness would be temporarily lost. And seeing the lightning spear in Yuta's hands, all the roots retreated 10 meters away. Attack him from a distance with ninjutsu. One of the roots started to make hand seals first, and his chest bulged. Fire release, big flame bullet. Since they couldn't get close, they could just attack Yuta with ninjutsu from a distance. Anyway, there are a lot of them here. If Yuta wants to use ninjutsu to defend, he will still be unable to completely block the 360-degree attack. Immediately, all the roots followed suit and no longer approached Yuta. Instead, they relied on ninjutsu to attack from a distance. It's really annoying. Yuta curled his lips slightly, and quickly gathered lightning chakra in his hand. He used his Sharingan to quickly see the attacks in all directions, and he dodged quickly with full speed. The lightning release stimulation technique from Kakashi and the wind release body flicker technique from Shisui were used together. The results of his long training finally showed its effect at this moment. Yuta's figure almost disappeared, and he easily avoided all the ninjutsus. The light of Raikiri in his hand reflected on his face. Yuta pierced the chest of a root blocking the front without hesitation. So fast. Damn, the speed with which he uses ninjutsu is too fast. We can't keep up with him at all. His speed just now was faster than Shisui. Damn, he is rushing towards Lord Danzo. After bypassing the roots, Yuta went straight to Danzo, who was behind. In an instant, he rushed in front of Danzo, and Yuta swung his leg high and smashed it downwards. Danzo, who originally thought that he could definitely win this time, could only dodge with a gloomy expression at this moment. Boom. The earth under his leg cracked. The rocks burst and the dust flew. What a great power. Danzo was startled for a while, and his left eye noticed that Yuta was continuing to hit him, so he could only turn around helplessly. Previously, in order to sneak up on Shisui, he used a 3-tomo Sharingan in his right eye to use as an Agi. Now that his right eye was blind, he could only use the left eye. He could only use the left arm now as well. Not to mention, he is in his 60s and has not fought for many years. Even if he fights Yuta head-on at this moment, it is still unknown how much strength he can burst out. The speed and strength shown by Yuta at the moment shocked him. Yuta was just 12 years old, but he was able to suppress him and beat him. Even if he is this age and is in poor condition, it still shows Yuta's extraordinary strength. Compared with the level Yuta was at when he defeated Raiga, he had greatly improved. Thinking of this, Danzo's heart was filled with killing intent. Evil Uchiha. Such a powerful Uchiha is definitely a hidden danger of the village. He must be removed. But at least at this moment, he can't deal with Yuta. While turning around and running away, Danzo ordered his subordinates, "Stop him." He felt a burst of regret. He only got one eye of Shisui today. If he could get both eyes, then his chances of becoming the Hokage would undoubtedly increase by a lot. He blamed his failure all on Yuta. Thinking of this, Danzo's heart became full of fire again. He, Shimura Danzo, the leader of a dignified organization, was chased by a 12-year-old kid and had to run away. What a shame. Suddenly, a sharp cracking sound came from behind. Then the exclamations of his subordinates sounded. "Lord Danzo, get out of the way." With the alarm bells ringing in his heart, Danzo did not hesitate to turn to the side, and he saw a lightning spear hit him. He hurriedly moved again, dodging the lightning spear. Only then did Danzo realize that his subordinates had been left behind. They simply couldn't keep up with Yuta's speed at all, let alone block him. Seeing Yuta continue rushing towards him, Danzo became ruthless. He was ready to abandon all scruples and directly attack Yuta with all his strength. Suddenly, a figure rushed over at high speed and stopped Yuta. It was Itachi. Itachi in Umbu costume, without a mask on his face, said with a grim expression, "Yuta, stop. Go away." Yuta shouted angrily and unceremoniously. He smashed Itachi's face with a ferocious punch, knocking him out. Itachi felt a sudden pain in his face. He didn't expect Yuta to attack him, and he didn't react until he was knocked flying. He actually was knocked out all of a sudden. Although he was not prepared, Yuta's speed just now was too fast, right? On Yuta's side, he knocked Itachi away with anger in his heart, and then continued to charge towards Danzo. "Danzo, hand over Shisui's Sharingan." With the words full of killing intent, Yuta's figure suddenly rose, and he slashed at Danzo with his short sword in hand. If possible, it would be better to kill Danzo directly. If Danzo could be dealt with ahead of time, then solving the problem of the Genocide Knight will be much easier. But although Danzo is not physically fit and not in shape, his strength is not weak. Dangerously avoiding the sword, Danzo took out the Sharingan that he had pulled out of Shirsue's eyes before. Then with ruthlessness in his eyes, he directly squeezed the bloody eyes in his hands. The power of Kotoamatsukami must not be in the hands of the Uchiha. Just as Yuta was about to continue rushing to kill Danzo, a figure jumped out from behind and stopped him. It was Shisui. Yuta, stop, don't make things any bigger than they need to be. Chapter 50, Exposing Sarutobi Huruzen. Shisui, are you actually trying to stop me? Yuta looked at Shisui, who was standing in front of him in disbelief. Sorry, Yuta, I asked Itachi to stop you just now. Blood continued to drip from Shisui's right eye. Let's stop here, don't make the situation worse. Just when Shisui came forward to stop him, Danzo completely abandoned his previous plans and left without hesitation. The roots also left one after another. After some time, only Shisui, Yuta, and Itachi were left in the woods. I originally planned to use my Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique to control clan leader Fugaku and let him dispel the clansman's intention to launch a coup. However, Danzo summoned me privately, expressed his distrust of me, and took the opportunity to steal my right eye. In a few words, Shisui explained what happened before. Yuta looked at Itachi on the side, and did not see any change in the latter's face. His expression became a little playful, and he said, "It seems that you were aware of this plan, Itachi. So, you actually agreed with Shisui to use the pupil technique to control your father." Itachi's eyes flickered slightly, but he said firmly, "If that's the price of preventing a coup and a possible war later, I think it's worth it." Yesterday, Shisui had told him about the plan. And he acknowledged it. It would have been worth it if this matet could have ended just by taking control of his father. Ah. Yuta couldn't help laughing directly. Uchiha Fugaku, what a sad person. He actually gave birth to such a good son. It's just, Shisui. Yuta turned and said, "Do you really think that by controlling clan leader Fugaku, the clansmen will give up on launching the coup?" Shisui's face froze. Danzo had questioned him in this same way before. If the clansmen's desire to launch a coup d'état can be dispelled, and the village's attitude towards the Uchiha can be changed, the problem should be solved. Shisui said with some lack of confidence. Who gave you the guarantee that the village will make changes? Is it Hiruzen? If he was willing to make a change, what has he been doing for years? Yuta's expression changed and he asked sharply. Both Shisui and Itachi's expressions changed. Not only because Yuta called third Hokage by his first name, but also because of the distrust behind those words. Itachi retorted with great resentment, "Lord Hokage has always been worried about the Uchiha clan. The situation has reached this point today entirely because the clansmen are too selfish and arrogant." Yuta used his Sharingan instantly, and stared at Itachi with killing intent in his heart. If Shisui is stupid, then Itachi is confidently stupid. The Uchiha are arrogant. What about the Hyuga clan? Don't they always want to compete with us for the title of Konoha's strongest clan? Aren't they also arrogant? The difference between the Hyuga and Uchiha is just that the Hyuga clan has already had their spines broken after the Hyuga Hizashi incident, but the Uchiha still have some backbone. What Hiruzen wants is an obedient Uchiha, a Uchiha that can be driven by him like a dog. With the anger in his heart, Yuta said the words that he had held in his heart for the first time. Now. Shisui and Itachi's expressions changed completely, and they looked at Yuta as if they had seen a ghost. This was the first time they had heard such rebellious and outrageous words. Even the clansmen who were most eager about a coup d'état in the clan never said such crazy words. How could Lord Hokage be such a person? Shisui said reluctantly. Why is it impossible? Yuta retorted impressively, why was the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato and not Orochimaru? It's because Namikaze Minato was young and didn't have a big team, but Orochimaru had experienced 2 great ninja wars and had his own team. For Hiruzen, Namikaze Minato was obviously a better choice. A young man who can be easily controlled. In his mind, the most important thing is to keep his power. Who are the Hokage guards under Namikaze Minato? Rado, Genma, and Iwashi. When the 3 of them served as Hokage's guards, they weren't even 15 years old. The dignified Hokage's guard lineup is so shabby. And also, why are there so many Sarutobi clansmen in the Jonin assessment every year? It's because Sarutobi Huruzen's strength is gradually decreasing, and so is his prestige. So, he can only improve his control over the village by promoting his own clansmen. The 3,000 ninja army of the Sarutobi clan had all been accumulated in this way.